And here we go.
There's the Deluge. Here's ignition.
Right away, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes, you bet. We don't need any more of these.
Hello everybody, it's excitement time. We've got a booster on pad 2, not just any old booster, it's booster 19. The first block 3 to be going through a flight test. I know there was booster 18 and it went rud at masses. So the first V3 that we're expecting to launch. But a key milestone ahead of launch is a successful static fire test. It's not going to be the first one for it. It's had 2 static fire tests at least before, where they've had an abort because of the pad systems. This time round, we're hoping for a pre-flight static fire test, and then all being well, we're on the path towards launch this month as well. It's been a while, so we're all looking forward to it. You know the routine by now. If you've got any burning questions, it'd be quite a long stream, this one, as you can imagine. Do at NASASpaceflight, followed by your question, or do at NSF, followed by your question. You'll go into our panel. We'll try and answer as many as we can. Lucky for you all, we've got the right people to talk about these questions here, because look who we've got. We've got Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Chris, and hello, everyone. Yeah, we might have a very interesting morning here at Starbase, I guess, because Booster 19 seems to be ready for some action today.
Indeed. I'm also seeing Roger surprisingly turn up. Hello, Roger. See, Roger's in the communication panel, but he's not talking. That's fun. We've also got Ryan now. Luckily, we've got Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. I'll just kind of start this off right away. We thought it was going to be a more interesting day than it was, but SpaceX literally just updated the closure, the rollout closure for Ship 39. And, well, it was supposed to be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It is now midnight to 4 a.m., so another night rollout. Really, SpaceX, I wanted to see Ship during the day, but that means that we are likely to get a early morning stack tomorrow morning then, or during or middle of the day. So we'll see how that goes. But what we thought could be a ship rollout today doesn't look like it's happening. However, it looks like we're going to have a booster static fire. So still an incredibly exciting day coming up.
To be fair, I was kind of wondering why SpaceX was doing everything all together all at once. And it was like, well, after all these months of being methodical in their preparations towards this flight, something that we always appreciate, but it's not kind of the SpaceX way. SpaceX is gun-ho, and bless them, we all love them for it. This time round, it's felt a lot more methodical, and then suddenly all we're getting like, oh, booster 35, oh, full stack, oh, they're going to do FTS, and oh, they're going to... I was like, oh my goodness, it's all happening at once all of a sudden. What's the rush? But luckily, it looks like they are pacing things again now based on the changes to the road closures. I would say, as a caveat to anybody, you always get to hear things, you always get to plan things based on it, but you always have to have the caveat in the back of your mind that it's a very fluid situation. Things change all the time. So it's you can be very careful. You can always talk about it. We can chat about it. We can assume. We can speculate. But when people start taking it as gospel, and then, you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, that's going to change in an hour's time. Look what's just happened now with the Ship 39 rollout. So that's a good example of that. As far as the main event of this stream, which will be Booster 19 firing up 33 Raptor 3 engines, that sounds fun just even saying it. Alex, what do you think would be the T0 based on where we are with the tank farm?
Well, it more or less looks like we might be like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away based on the activity. We usually see this thing where it's like about an hour of chill down. We can see those fan vents there going off, and also the reclaiming system as well. You can see it sort of behind it. And so yeah, it usually what's that? Like Ryan, back me up here. Like it's what, like an hour or so, more or less, and then like half an hour for propellant load, right? So maybe an hour and a
Yeah.
half or so.
The wet dress rehearsal they did on that boost on the booster, they did it. It was the quickest chill down they've done, which was about an hour of chill down, at least for the methane side. For those any wondering, like when you see that box fan start up, you cannot set a T0 off that time because they basically can let that thing run for hours.
Yeah.
And hours on end. That's why we set our T0 to the methane reclaim, because they only start that system up when they absolutely need it. And this is a really cool shot. You can actually see that only the booster pumps are running, so they're not testing the ship side this time. I kind of was wishing they would run the ship side alongside just to kind of get a sense of it, but we won't see that as of right now until they do a wet dress rehearsal or at least a tanking test while fully stacked. But yeah, I would say around 9:30 to 9:40 is kind of where I'm looking at for T0. But yeah.
And I would mention that when people hear us talk about times, we always gravitate towards the local time. In this case, it's Central Time, so it's 8:10, almost 8:10 a.m. Central Time over there in South Texas. So that is literally 80 minutes away from potential T0, which isn't long. So it's excitement time because we're going to get a prop-loaded booster again, which is always fun to see. And then hopefully a static fire test. And the question, Ryan, I've got here is, how long do you think they'll static fire for?
I think they'll try for the full duration. Now that could be anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds. Old boosters on pad 1, they used to do about 10-second static fire. They could probably go a little bit. They could definitely go a little bit longer, I should say, on this pad. And I would think they would want to try to go through like multiple different throttle regimes, or at least throttle up as much as they can, and throttle back down and make sure the pressure systems that they have set up on this farm are set to go, because they need to know that this pad works. There's a reason why they're doing this extra static fire. They could have done an engine swap, but the other part of that is this deluge has to work. They'd rather not have go through, close everything out, clear the range, have the vehicle fully fueled, and then abort at ignition for a launch. They don't really want to do that. That's it. Granted, it's a wet dress rehearsal at that point with an ignition, but you don't want to have to maybe accidentally damage the engines if you do a hard shutdown too bad or something along those lines. So they want to make sure the system is working before they head into a launch, and that's what they're going to do today and try to test that.
Very good. D-Space Guy, yes, very well put. Don't forget to shout out the producer, button pusher. Button pusher. I think his job title is more than button pusher. Jay Keegan is producing this stream. The reason why I missed him is because I've got like a list of people when we're talking, so that's why I introduced Roger, because Roger was accidentally in there. Jay's got special powers where he can be invisible from that list, so that's why I completely forgot to thank him. So Jay Keegan producing the stream. Jay Keegan is an absolute warrior, brilliant producer, so absolutely worth pointing that out. Well done, D-Space. Loads of support, by the way, already. I say already, even at any time during a stream is unexpected and appreciated. We were showing the booster stand rollout past the cameras, and it actually caught one of our other cameras, one of our bowling cameras, in the view. And people were saying, wow, that's an expensive camera. I said, yeah, it is. But thanks to the generosity of our community, we can go out and buy these things. It literally works that way. We are reinvesting what we make on this YouTube channel, etc., into what we provide you as far as views. So that is what is literally funding it. And that's why we make a big point of thanking people such as the Space Watcher, who gifted a Red Team membership. We also got Methane Man, or Methane Man, depending where you're from, gifting 10 Red Team members. Now, I will say, these gifted memberships is a real cool thing, because not only are you being really generous by helping other people you don't even probably know in chat become members for a month for free, they have access to special streams, not just member content, but members content in stream form, where we've got like Jay Keegan's producer screen with all the cameras literally in the background on a special stream to any member level. So they've all got access to that now, which is really, really cool. Astro Joaquin, I would say, is the pronunciation of that. Great work, since Starship is just a few ms shy of orbital, meters per second shy of orbital velocity. If an observation happened in the right direction, could it push it into orbit? Oh, Alex, I'm going to give that one to you. It's orbital mechanics time.
I mean, it could, but it depends also in the direction, right? I guess. It's one of those things where it's like it really depends a lot, because in any case you're still sort of in that suborbital trajectory. I mean, it's a few meters per second, but you will still be in a very low orbit either way, right? Like whatever is ejected, that takes on. My train of thought here is that for it to attain enough energy, aka velocity, right? Like I'm referring to velocity here, from an explosion. Let's talk bluntly here, right? An observation explosion, right?
Mm-hmm.
A sort of explosion in that suborbital trajectory. Yes, it's true that you don't need a lot of, a lot of delta V, a lot of meters per second to complete and get into orbit. But also the kind of trajectory is very inefficient. If you look at the telemetry, it sort of puts the apogee weirdly enough so that it can re-enter over the Indian Ocean. It's not easy. When the ship does its in-space burn, when they've done the in-space burn before, it actually does that prograde, like pointing in the direction of travel, which you would think will give it a boost in speed enough to be able to. No. It actually is worse for getting into a proper orbit. I think if you had an explosion, the kinds of chunks of pieces of metal that get that kind of speed of getting into orbit will probably be very, very, very small, and will probably be a very low orbit anyways. So they will probably come back like within a day or two. I wouldn't worry too much. Let's put it that way.
Very good. Yeah, observation. I read it out without assuming everyone understands what that means. The word observation, as far as a RUD, is back to the Northrop Grumman days. They like to mention when like their booster nozzles blow off. We've had an observation. that's their way of saying something's blown up. So there we go. Space Watch, a couple of bucks to help out the upkeep of the cams. Exactly, thank you very much, because it's not just buying the cams, it's looking after them, making sure they keep working. As Methane Men did as well, with a $50 tip, by the way. $50 tip, two of them. Two $50 tips. Methane Man, so that's $100. That's bonkers. Thank you very much for your support. That is really, really... So that caught me out, because you did twice. The first one caught me out, but then you did another one, the second one after it. Cosmic Implosion Technologies. What an amazing username, by the way. Why did they roll back after potential fire? Or did they do it New Glenn style? So we're trying to compare, Ryan, the static fire and preparations for launch of a New Glenn compared to a Starship. It's hard to compare, isn't it? But they have to roll back for both engine inspections, and I assume the FTS installation on the booster?
So yeah, we don't really know if the FTS is installed yet. There's no way to know with the newer vehicles. They've been doing it in the bay for the last couple of flights. And as for rolling this back, it'll have to roll back after a static fire here. They have a lot of extra sensors and wire harnesses hooked up for other data regarding static fires, and that has to go back to the bay to remove all that and get it flight ready. And for the other things, if you look at the chines, you can see how there's much, as a cloud decides to cover the booster, from venting. Basically, if you see the lighter strips on the chines there, that's where there's still tape on the chines. You can see that there's darker spots between them. So they have bolted closed. They have strips of basically stainless where they've bolted together some of the chines. Some of them are completely closed out. Some of them still have tape around them, which they'll either want to get access to the chines, or they just didn't get around to finish closing them out yet. Those will have to get closed out in the bay after this testing. And that's kind of why they have to roll back, basically, is it's not ready yet. It's not flight ready.
And also I will point out... Oh, sorry.
Go, Alex. Nope. I'm less important than your answers.
I was gonna add to this that it's not just the booster, right? The ship. Have we seen any preparations for flying on the ship? Remember the whole thing of loading the payload and all that stuff, right? Like those sorts of things will probably have to be already going on for them to roll it out tonight and then do full stack and whatever. Like if they were gonna be doing all of this to just not roll back any of the vehicles, right? To just stay on the pad, then you will see all of those final preparations. So not only Booster 19 is not fully ready, but I will argue Ship 39 is also not fully ready. Like, we will see those kind of preparations. Now, I'm not saying there's no way they're not going to launch anytime soon, right? I'm just saying that this... Oh, booster venting. There we go. Methane tank. You see that?
Yeah.
Right over the griffins. And the oxygen tank as well.
Love this cam, by the way. Thank you, Gage.
Yeah. To finish my train of thought here is that the point that I'm trying to make is that they are not fully ready for flight. They are very close though, so that means because they're going to be rolling them back, it might not be that much of a work that they need to do, right? Like it's probably going to be a few days, hopefully. So, and they can quickly move these vehicles. We've seen this, right? That they swift around and roll them up and down the highway and all that very quickly. They're getting good at that sort of thing. So I don't think it will be sort of bad for them to just need to roll this back, given that, there's not a lot of work left to do.
Right. Very good. I was just clipping that little lovely four-way venting from the top above the grid fins, which are now 3, which is still triggering some people. 3 grid fins now, not the 4. It's a version 3, the Block 3 booster now. They're changing design. I would be remiss without immediately going to thank Patrick Bob. Patrick Bob has gifted 50 Red Team memberships, which is on its own would be completely bonkers and is. But I can tell you from Raptor sides and previous streams, Patrick Bob has done that. I've lost count how many times. We are talking about Patrick Bob literally memberizing over 1,000 people. I'm probably even, it might even be 2,000. I don't know. There's so many, I lost track. But Patrick Bob is an amazing supporter of what we do. So a big special shout out just before I even move on through the question queue, because I'm trying to do things in order. I thought I couldn't leave that for too long. I will also note appreciation for Chris W, who did 5 gifted Red Team memberships as part of our team. Literally part of our team, who just done 5 gifted Red Team memberships. So you can see the bonkers levels, regardless of the quantity, always come into play. Amazing. XEO, that's the username. I know it's not the top priority, but do you believe they'll ever finish the full cladding on the tower? Ryan, do you think they even need to finish the cladding on the tower?
No, it'll never get fully cladded. There's no reason to. They're only going to clad what they need to protect the innards where they need to protect them. So there's a chance they add more, like maybe right before the first ship catch, or maybe right after the first ship catch, once they realize where the exhaust plume's going to be when they go to flip and burn. But and that's part of the reason why the new roof was added, because of, well, the ship catch. But as I know we've stated before, and we've even seen, SpaceX took cladding off of a tower in the past. It's off the fixed service structure over at 39A. They took cladding off of that. I don't think there's any... I think they only want to keep stuff on that they absolutely need. Because if you were to put that solid cladding all the way up that tower, that adds more wind loading as well, which... I mean, the tower might be designed for that, but it might not be. When it's hitting a full surface rather than having wind flow through it. So while it may look cool if they were to fully do it, I don't think they'll ever do it.
Very good. Alex, I've got a good question that you probably like, from Gwen, who asks, will the new trajectory for Flight 12 result in a shorter launch window due to disruption of airspace and shipping?
Shorter launch window due to disruption of airspace and shipping. Do we know it's disrupting airspace and shipping? I mean, I'm really not aware of any of that. I do know that at least the notices are very much about the same length in time than the previous ones. There's probably going to be like an hour-long window sort of thing. I don't expect it to be any shorter or longer. At least
In
based on
fact, the new, and I'll say this. In fact, the new trajectory will actually be a little bit better for some air travel stuff, because there are a lot of flights that can go between Hispaniola and the United States, and especially Puerto Rico in the United States, and like some of the more northern Leeward Islands in the Caribbean, and like Turks and Caicos. Now, none of those flights will be affected by this launch because all of it's to the south. It's just flights between like Yucatan, Central America, and parts of South America that are going over the Caribbean. So there's actually a lot less flying around there that's really going to be disrupted. Shipping lanes, it shouldn't be too bad to shut them down for just a little bit of time, because it's a smaller window. Or at least it's not that much of a big window. It's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it should actually be better for air travel as a whole. And if there is a RUD, like where, say, Ship 33 or 34 blew up, most of the debris wouldn't hit any like land like the Turks and Caicos. It would just land in the Caribbean Sea. Maybe the southern tip of like Haiti, Hispaniola, but that's about it though. Otherwise, it's literally threading the needle and going over more water this time around than in the past, really. So.
Very good. Ventry wants to know, I butchered your username, by the way. Was there an announcement of what happened with the Deluge system? And is it confirmed that it was fixed? Well, I assume it's fixed, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this test. But didn't we have that Test As You Fly video that gave some details, at least, Ryan, about what happened with the Deluge system, or at least the pad systems during the 2 static fire attempts?
Yeah, so as for what happened, my guess is they could have had a combustor fault, is what it sounded like. So one of their gas generators had an issue. So they might not have been able to generate enough pressure, and that's where they had an abort there. And then another one sounded kind of like it was a sensor fault. I'm not going to go into too much detail with the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of components with the new system, and to why it works the way it is. That explanation could take like an hour. Zach has a video coming out about it. I'll just tell you that whenever it comes out. But the other issue that they had was they had a gas generator explode during a top deck test. It was, in fact, one of their longest top deck tests that they did, and the gas generator blew its top off. It looks like I think it's probably replaced at this point. I don't know if it's really that big of an issue. Of course, SpaceX isn't going to really say, unless they say during like the Flight 12 stream, or they put out an update whenever they do a Flight 12 update. So we don't really know on that front.
Very good. I have my panel in front of me. Where I mentioned you can do at NASASpaceflight for a question. It goes to our panel. That's what I mean by the panel. And I've literally gone through the queue where I can put them into where I'm going to click on them and go through them, each one. I was literally moving every question across because they're all good questions. There's a few duplicates, so if you've asked a question, you're thinking, why have not, that's a pretty normal question, why have they not answered it? It's because someone else asked it as well, and now we're first in the queue, so that's literally the only reason why I've not, because I've moved every single one across. An amazing set of good questions. I'll start with this one. Michael wants to know, is the black area of the booster all paint, or is it an ablative sheet, like what goes under the tiles? Who wants that? Ryan first?
I think
Ryan.
Some of it is paint, or at least most of it's paint. The little trapezoid you see, that might be a sheet of ablative. Might be. I'd have to go back and look at some of the like close-up pictures to really tell for sure. But it's possible that it's a combination of the two. But it's also possible that it's all paint. Because it'd be really, really hard to put that ablative sheet over all of the conduit, junction boxes, and hoses that they have around there, all the piping, because there's a ton of basically all of the autonomous pressurization lines off the engines and the manifolds for them, all of the spin start gases, all the igniter gases, purge gases, all of that is literally in that area, with all that conduit and everything, as well as the power and data lines to all the engines and everything else. So there's a ton of stuff in that area, and it'd be really hard to put like ablative sheets over it. That would basically have to be paint at that point. We'll see how it lasts on reentry. I'd be curious to see some up close views, like a buoy cam, if the booster does get that far.
Not preempting questions, Ryan. I've got that one coming up.
Oh,
But I tell you one thing, it does look nice. I am all for good-looking rockets, but there is a natural affinity to black aft's from my shuttle days. There we go. I've mentioned shuttle. It took me a good 30 minutes before I mentioned it, but there we go. Yeah, the old black and white of a space shuttle. Raptor 3 enthusiast. What a great username. Do they static fire with full throttle, Alex?
Well, for the prior versions, they couldn't because the clamp system was not even enabled. Like it never really held down the booster or the full stack per se. Like the whole thing was just very heavy to be lifting off until they actually ran the engines to full thrust, and that's where you see liftoff. That's why it sort of slumbered off the pad for the prior version. I'm not sure they can do 100% without the ship on top, like in this configuration, but maybe they can now. The clamp system has been changed for Pad 2. It's way stronger. Also, the booster aft is different as well. The way that it all clamps together and it all comes together basically is a whole lot different. In the previous version, there was like a lip at the bottom of the booster that was grabbed by the clamps. Here there are actual like holes, so to speak, right, where you can actually pinch the booster, and there's like 20 of those pinches, so to speak, right? So it's much more different, much more tougher of a system than the previous one. They might be able to do that and still hold down the rocket in full stack configuration. I'm not sure just the booster though. They do load the entire liquid oxygen tank, right? For way down reasons, so that basically the booster doesn't fly off if those clamps fail or anything like that. But I don't know. This is one of those things that you probably have. You need probably SpaceX to come up and say, yeah, we run the engines to full thrust, right? For the previous one, they used to do it like half the thrust. Yeah.
I was gonna say in that view, there's a really cool shot. You can tell the difference between the tape and the. So you see that tape right there, that speed tape, which is it's probably just aluminum tape with the same kind of thing we use on aircraft for stuff. And then you can see where there are strips of steel and bolts that are holding up, that are closing the rest of the gaps where there's not tape. So that's what it'll look like at launch. So there's just a few that still have to get completed and stuff, and that was kind of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Amy points out, I hope we get more launches from Wallops Island, Virginia, and we can see more spaceships. Well, the fun thing is, I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly because I've pronounced it wrongly. Mika, we've got out there at Wallops taking photographs of Wallops Island and all the wasn't near enough.
Micah.
Oh my god, I'll never get it right. I'll be doing this in years' time and I'll still won't get it right. Either ways, he's out there taking photographs and videos of launches. He's getting to see the Electron launches from Wallops Island, which is one thing. But we are expecting Eclipse, which is the Northrop Grumman Firefly collaboration rocket, which is a decent-sized rocket in its own right. And I think the most exciting one is Rocket Lab's Neutron rocket, which is launched from there. So it's going to get very exciting at Wallops. I assume you're from there because you want to see more launches from there. So there is an exciting future at that launch site on the East Coast. Patrick wants to know, will it be a static fire or just tanking? So basically, how do we know, Ryan, that it's not just a tanking test? Because technically, they could get to tank for a static fire and have an issue and detank, and everyone goes, oh, it's just a tanking test if they've aborted a static. So it's a hard way to judge. But is there any real big clues, such as the prop loading, that they're going for a static?
Not really, is the thing. They'll do the same. They've done the same prop load. It basically is almost a full LOX tank, and then about a ring or so of methane, plus the methane transfer tube. And then the only other indicator we have is Deluge and DSS activation, and then the engine's light. That's the kind of thing is until the engine's light, we have no idea if they are going to static fire or not. That's just it. There's no other indicators from what we can tell. So they could just do a tanking test today, but we kind of think it's a static fire because they did a gas pressurization test yesterday, so they might have done that in lieu of actually tanking the whole vehicle. What that does is you can use methane and oxygen gas and basically press the tanks, check all the COPVs, check all the valves, do other things like that. We know they moved, they wiggled the grid fins. The only thing a gas test doesn't do over a cryo test is you don't chill everything down to temperature. All it basically that's the only difference. You're using gas instead of liquid. So I guess they just didn't want to close the road that much, and they didn't really want to use any of their prop last night, so they just opted for a gas test instead.
Very
But
good.
I expect a static fire today.
JJ asks, thank you for your support about it, JJ. Why no chopsticks around this time? And the second part to that question is, and do they have plans for catching Starship at an estimated date, or are they going to put in those landing towers? So, right, Alex, landing towers. Catch towers. Way! We all love catch towers, don't we? Well, first part of the question is, why no chopsticks around the booster during this test? That's the first part of the question.
Have they ever done that with
I don't
Pad
think so.
2? I don't think so. Yeah.
For what?
For a static fire. I don't
Put the-
recall.
Put
It's
the
always
sticks
being at the
around.
top of the tower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime they test, they always put the sticks all the way up just to get it out of the way of the booster, especially if the booster has an anomaly. They want the sticks as far away from the rocket as possible.
There you go.
In case the booster decides to, blow itself up. The
Cool, and
QD arm would get kind of roasted, but they might be able to swing the QD arm out of the way quick enough, if possible, to avoid some damage. But they want to keep the sticks away from damage as much as possible, so they stick them all the way up there.
And the second part of the question, Alex, is the future, where we are expecting them to, after booster catches return, hopefully on the next flight, Flight 13, we're going to start seeing ship catches. Those are currently planned to be on these towers. They're going to be the same kind of catches as the boosters, I assume. That's the plan still. But eventually, are we going to start seeing catch towers, standalone catch towers?
Well, there's plans for that. They're definitely not in a rush to make those catch towers just yet. Based on at least on that sort of thing, I think it's most likely sort of like an option, but not a full-on sort of thing that they definitely really need right now, right? Like if in the future they really want a catch tower, they have the plans, they have the paperwork in place, right? But it's one of those things that it's like I'm not sure we're gonna see that anytime soon. It's not like we really are seeing any kind of work towards that. When we start seeing it, then we'll say, hey, yeah, they're starting work on catch towers.
Yeah, fun times. Curtis, thank you for your support, by the way, as well. I'm going to be in PI, is that Puerto Rico, next week. Could I see a launch while I am there? Well, the launch date we were not going to commit to. Please don't book plans based on what we're assuming with the launch date. But based on viewing, let's take the assumption that it does launch next week. What is the viewing like for Puerto Rico, Ryan? I'm trying to get my bearings on the geography there.
From Puerto Rico for that, you'd have to be on the south end of Puerto Rico, and you would definitely see the ship above you. If it's unless it's cloudy out or anything along those lines. But you would, if you're on the south end of Puerto Rico, you'd see the ship. It'd be still pretty far away, but it should be high enough in altitude that it wouldn't matter. You'd definitely see the plume. Because they plan on launching in the afternoon, so nighttime you'd see a massive plume off the ship. Anyone in that general area in the Caribbean Sea is going to see a really cool plume until engine cut off, and then they'll obviously see LOX tank venting after that too. So it'll look pretty cool. Basically, yeah, it probably wouldn't even matter where you were in Puerto Rico to see it, but
Nice.
As long as it's not cloudy out, you should be able to see a massive plume up in the sky from a Starship.
I could do my LSR thing right now and say that if you do happen to see an interesting view of a launch from any location, such as Puerto Rico or something like that, tag our socials and show the photograph or video you took. And I'll tell you one thing, I do joke about that because it's a line that LSR likes to use because it gets to mention that it's not just X we're on Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok and things like that, things I don't use. Some of the coolest things we've seen is when we've done like my little Bandicam of a SpaceX launch for Starlink from Vandenberg, something like that. People reply to that launch clip with their own views of the launch from their backyards and things. And I've always found that really fascinating, especially the jellyfish ones. They look amazing. So always do that. Just, tag us. Even if we don't necessarily see it immediately, everyone who's clicking on that post will see it in the replies. So you are spreading it. It's not just to us, it's to everybody. So that's really cool. I do like that. Also, I do like the fact that we've got like over 6,000 people, and there's not a lot going on right now. And over 6,000 people in the stream. That just shows the interest levels in Starship are still way there, which is great news for all concerned. But it also means you'll probably get quite a lot of new people in and asking, basic questions. And I think it's very important we don't just answer technical questions because it is a stream for everybody. And if it is your first time here, welcome. And the second part is, this is a question for Ryan. Why does ice fall off the frosty booster when wondering, because I've been wondering since I saw the scene in the SpaceX video. So ice, the frost, which condenses on, well, basically layers the outer steel hull of this booster. It starts basically almost like pressurizing. It comes loose via pressurization, doesn't it, Ryan?
Well, it's more of with a really cold booster, the outside air freezes against the booster, the outside moisture, I should say. It'll freeze against the cold booster, and ice builds up. And after enough time, the ice builds up to a weight where it can't. Its internal friction and stickiness doesn't work as much anymore, and the ice just cracks and falls off. That's about it. Pressure changes, and of course, if it's static flyers, the vibrations will knock ice off. But when you're seeing ice fall off, like during detanking or during loading, it can definitely mean the booster is expanding and contracting. But it also means that, eventually ice buildup just cracks and falls under its own weight. So, yeah.
It's kind of funny that one of the more basic questions is where I turn into a complete idiot trying to give an explanation to it's frosty and pressurization. It pops off, doesn't it? It's weird how that works when you're so used to something, then you just try and explain it in like a line. It doesn't work. It's amazing how that works. A more technical question for you, definitely, Ryan, is Cosmic Exploration Technologies, getting a great username. What are those big GSC bunker vents that aren't active during the whole process? What's their use?
GSE bunker vents. The ones on the side structure. Those are basically just air vents. So when you have a large enclosed structure like that, you need to have some kind of venting for the air, for air circulation. I bet they have. Those are connected to large fans and as well as nitrogen. So one, you can just use it for air circulation. The other thing it's used for is those are mainly over the primary propellant valves. So the LOX, primary LOX valve is on the side we're looking at right now, and the primary methane valve is on the other side of the service structure. Those are kind of where it's basically kind of where some of those vents line up is some of the main prop valves. Now, what they do is during loading, no seal is ever perfect. You're going to have oxygen leakage, you're going to have CH4 leakage, and you'll probably have a buildup of oxygen and methane gas. And what you can do with those vents is you then purge the area. So you don't want like a mixture of oxygen and methane in a tight enclosed space. That's not good. All it takes is the right mixture and a spark, and it goes kaboom. So the whole point of those is to purge the bunker and make it basically a nitrogen-rich atmosphere in there, more nitrogen-rich than outside, I should say. to purge oxygen and methane out so that you don't have a buildup of explosive gases and, keep it as safe as possible. Now, we have not seen like any venting out of some of those during static fires, but there is a possibility that when they go to launch, with the plume going to be interacting with the covers on the hold down arms and all that other stuff, there's a chance we see those vents actually vent out cold nitrogen gas when a launch happens. But we have not seen that during the static fire. So they're just kind of passively venting it at this time.
As a fire engine goes past my window. Apologies if you heard a siren. That was from me in Yorkshire. Not long after, I had a bunch of Canada geese having an argument outside my window. Onk, 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 onk. So it's all noises coming through my. Maybe I didn't. My voice didn't show us coming through, so maybe you didn't hear it. Maybe the microphone's good enough to filter that out, shall we say. So this is great. Davey says Patrick Bob is Elon in disguise, thanking us for giving SpaceX workers something to watch while they work. And then the second one, straight after it, was from Kodak, who says, how do you feel when Star Factory watches your Starbase Live to inspect in real-time views of the pad? It's something that's been going on for years. We heard about it from SpaceX's back in the early days, back in the windbreak and high bay days, before the mega bays and what have you, and the gigabays. We knew they had us on screens there, but it was kind of like only until the Jay Leno tour about 4 or 5 years ago, or was it 4 years ago, something like that, with Elon, that during those clips that on Jay Leno's documentary, we saw Starbase Live on big screens. I was like, hang on a minute, we're on big screens. It actually is, that's visual proof that we've got the big screens. And of course, Tim did a tour. We saw it on one of the screens during his tour, and we saw it again on one of the screens in the latest SpaceX video as well. We knew about it. SpaceX has told us we're on screens in Hawthorne, McGregor, and on the Space Coast, and it is really cool. I must admit, it is super cool. I don't think Patrick Bob's Elon, though. There we go. I think Elon's more focused on X rather than YouTube streams, so I would fully expect Patrick Bob to be Patrick Bob. There we go. Will there be a payload on this flight, Ryan?
As far as we know, they do plan on putting something on Ship 39. As for what it is, we don't know. But there was that FCC filing about comms during a flight or something along those lines. So we'll just have to watch and see what gets loaded on 39 if we're able to catch it. We'll see when that happens.
Very good. Alex, question here about SpaceX's future. There is a Louisiana expansion apparently out there. Any ideas what that could be about?
Well, there's a lot of speculation, right? And no enough information, I guess. We do know that they seem to be about to, or if not already, have acquired quite a lot of area, like a good footprint out there. I personally think it's going to be some kind of, Starbase 2.0 sort of thing where they can build and launch out of there. The main reason for that is because it's close by, right? It's not a lot of a trip time if you go through the Gulf and whatnot. And it also allows you to be far enough away from Mexico, for example, that if you tried to do a polar launch, you might be able to do that from Louisiana. By the time the ship sort of gets into orbit, it's already quite far down range, but also like still not over Mexico. And if it flies over Mexico, it's like some of the least populated areas, right? Which in terms of the, all of the things that they need to do with the FAA of probabilistic chances of injuries or harm to the public or whatever, like those sorts of things play in your favor when you're trying to fly over some other country and things like that. It's like, well, but it's the least populated area in that country, so the chances are very low if something were to happen on the ship or whatever, right? I do think that might be the reason why. And why would you launch to polar might be the next question, right? Well, it's because of the AI satellites. We know already this big constellation that they want to launch of 1 million satellites, and there's an entire shell of these satellites are going to be in sun-synchronous orbits, this sort of polar / slightly retrograde orbits, where you have constant illumination by the sun, right? And so you are able to basically have 100% the day sun all the time, and you power your satellites for all day, right? And so I think that's probably going to be the reason why they might purchase that, because Vandenberg is an option, but it's also very small, right? You have a lot of things going on there, lots of hills, for example. You may be able to make a gigabay of sorts, but an entire production facility and things like that might be too far off. But yeah, we'll see what they do in Louisiana. It seems like it might be something to look at very closely.
James, thank you for your support, and what a great thing to end this. I've pre-read it. You can imagine why I'm saying that. When do you guys think SpaceX will achieve full ship reusability? Thank you guys for your content. You're the reason I got into rockets. That is awesome, by the way. That is super. So that means a lot to me. Someone who started NSF 21 years ago, not the YouTube channel. That all came organically later on, but it does mean a lot to me anyway because of that. So thank you for your support and thank you for the message. But Ryan, when do you think they'll get full ship reusability?
Probably early next year. I think they might catch a ship this year. And then on top of that, I would guess actually reusing a caught ship, I don't think is going to happen until next year at this rate. But, you know, there's a lot that has to go into it, because even if they catch the first, even if they say catch 41, they'll have to tear into it and take a look at it, see how the ship went. I doubt they would reuse it, and then they would probably fly another one, catch that one, and see if that one can be reused or not. Because catching and reusing a booster is one thing. A ship is an entirely another can of worms, because of what the reentry it has to go through. So,
Right, Alex, try and get your head around this one, because I'm trying to visualize it. I'm failing badly. Kirby wants to know, why doesn't SpaceX just add a second booster to get Starship to low Earth orbit without refueling and go to the moon?
Why would you? It's a very big rocket if you were to do that. It's already a big rocket. You're sort of thinking of doing an even bigger rocket, right? That's too much complication in terms of ground systems and things like that. And also, how do you recover that second booster, right? Why doesn't SpaceX just add the second booster? How do you recover it, right? You want a full reusability system, or a fully reusable system that's cheap and launches often and things like that. It's like, how do you recover the second booster? Oh, it turns out the second booster goes into an orbital speed. Oh, then how do I recover something from orbit? Look at the ship, right? Like that's one of the things that the whole reason why it needs so many refuelings is because the ship it basically uses its own propellant to get into orbit. But that is also why it can then be turn around and like come back, turn around and launch again. And you have that advantage of being able to launch quickly. And so if you do the opposite of just launch once and it's a very big rocket, what will you trade? Launch a bunch of times with a certainly way smaller rocket, or launch the extremely big rocket once and maybe cross your fingers that it doesn't explode on the pad, right? Like that's a really
Alex,
easy trade-off.
You say we're not going to get a Starship Heavy, a triple core 99 engine Starship, because I want that.
good luck designing that launch.
Yeah.
Good
I'd
luck.
want that.
And that wouldn't solve the issue. Like, you will still need to use the ship. Like, it will probably get your ship closer to orbital speeds, but it will still not get your ship all the way to orbit. Like, you will still need to use the propellant on the ship to get into orbit.
Also, how are you catching 3 boosters?
We have a massive question queue. I am not removing these questions. We'll keep going until we answer them all, I'll tell you. So forgive us if you're 30 minutes behind. I'm 30 minutes behind on the question queue. I will get through as many as we possibly can. One I'm coming back to Ryan about, because Ryan did intimate it earlier. Mr. Hal wants to know, do you think they'll put buoys, depends where you're from, in the Gulf for the booster landing?
I think they'll have buoys out there. Like they had for basically, it's going to be like in a booster 11 setup. where they had buoys and buoy cams for landing, and they'll try to catch the Booster 19 landing. I'd be really curious to see how high up they cut the landing burn, or they do a full landing burn on 19 and then cut it to let it drop, because they're gonna want the booster to blow up rather than hit the water and fall over. Because if it's largely intact, then they'll probably have to go grab it again, and I don't think they want to go through that whole rigmarole. Because there's no reason to go grab it. You might as well wait for the next booster and actually catch it, or catch 21, whichever one they decide to catch first. So I think like this booster will like cut its engines at like 500 meters, and then plummet to the Gulf of Mexico and blow up. So.
Yep. Forward just says, good afternoon, all. Thank you, NSF, for the stream. I want to point this out. It's not a question. Really appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you one thing I can say is, yeah, it's a free stream. It's YouTube. You might be paying premium, but either way, the old concept of it is that we are streaming via our original content, our own cameras. We're not just talking over someone else's stream. We are using our own equipment here, our own hardware, even on our own land in a lot of the cases on our cameras at Starbase, which is bonkers to this day. All I would say is, you don't have to super chat. You can just like the stream. I mean, seriously, we've got nearly 7,000 people in the stream right now. Hit the like button. Just do it for me. I don't ask much. I'm just asking now. Just like the stream. The reason why we say like the stream is it's not monetary, but it helps us with the rankings on when people search for things like Starship, SpaceX, because I guarantee you those scam channels, like those crypto channels and all those nonsense AI slop channels, they have ways of making sure they get lots of likes via even paying for it in some cases, I've heard, where they get some 8-year-old maybe getting into rockets, types in SpaceX Starship and gets Elon talking a speech he did 3 years ago, and someone's got crypto links at the bottom of it. I hate the idea of that. That's why I always say, like in our streams and other streams, other channels with original content, not just us, all the original content channels like their streams. It helps all of us get the right message across to what could be potentially new people getting into rockets. It's very important to me that it doesn't mean anything money-wise. It just helps that free thing takes you half a second to do. So thank you for doing that, because I just jumped by 500 likes. And Max says, SpaceX AI moves so fast. Thanks for covering. That's a massive super chat, by the way, so I really appreciate it. But AI, it is becoming a thing, isn't it, Ryan, where SpaceX is looking to be launching these massive data centers in space?
Unfortunately. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, it is. It's very unfortunate. I hope it doesn't become a really, real big thing, because I'm not a fan of AI at all. But because like if you take AI away from Starship, like those AI launches, it still has a ton of Starlink. It has a ton of tanker flights to do, cargo flights to do. Payload to low Earth orbit for building other vehicles and setting up space stations and all that other stuff. But yeah, that's basically, I don't know. I just don't like AI. I don't want to see it. But that's me.
Brock, is this true? Official, I can't pronounce that, so I won't bother. I'll put it on the screen so people can read it. I had your stream up during IFT 9, Flight 9, when I was in Key West, Florida, and your stream helped me see Starship in the sky right before Seeker. Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, I mean, that is awesome. Well, you got to see it as well with your own Mark 1 eyeballs, I think the saying is on our streams. M4Cron20 is the username, has become a launch director member, which is a very high level of support, so I very much appreciate it. While Red has become a PadRep member as well. Welcome. Carson just says giraffe ? There is a regulatory giraffe from a very old stream where Daz drew a giraffe for scale next to a Starship. I don't know why. I still to this day don't know why he did it, but it's become a thing. It's become part of the legend. Charlie's become a PadRep member. Welcome, Charlie. Bodger even, is coffee being served at some point during the stream? Thank you for your support. Chris Bray's done a massive tip twice. Appreciate the stream. I don't know if it's doubling up or you're doing it twice, but either way, even one of them is amazing, so I very much appreciate it. Thank you. Clenny wants to know, or even says as a statement, my theory is that the chine tape is some release pressure is there to release pressure in case another COP fails during testing to minimize damage. What do you think? Ryan, what do you think about the tape on the COPVs?
No. If a COPV fails, the whole booster is going to get its side ripped open in an instant.
Yeah.
Those COPVs run at thousands of PSI. Tape is no, it'll blow a hole in the side of the tank no matter what. The chine tape is there because they just don't, because anytime it's easier to cover up that gap with tape rather than a strip of steel and bolts if you want to quickly access it back in the bay. That's the only reason the tape is there. So, yeah.
Very good. Back to you, Ryan, because I know you've been dealing with this quite a lot in articles and stuff. And it is a very good question because once they do get to full stack, we're going to see ship quick disconnect testing, aren't we? When do we think... what are your expectations about this, Ryan? Because it's not the first use of the system because they had it at masses, as you've rightly pointed out on the Raptor side recently. But it is the first time this plate will have touched a ship during a full stack.
So, they've been purging the SQD. The biggest system is not really the plate itself. It's running the ship side with a ship connected to it. So testing all the pre-press, all the power, all the data lines, and then actually loading propellant into the ship using the new design ship QD arm, using the tower, and using those systems there. That is basically what it's all about. The entire ship side of the tank farm is what we're really looking forward to have tested. Not really the plate, but the entire ship side.
Alex, Pioneer wants to know, what are your biggest concerns about Flight 12?
My biggest concern is that the whole flight fails very early in the flight, right? That somehow the booster isn't up to spec, and we have another repeat of Flight 1, except for the pad stuff, right? Where the booster sort of veers off and the whole thing just fails, right? That's one of my biggest concerns, because if that were to happen, then SpaceX will be in a really big and deep hole, right? That they will have to get out of in order to continue with the Starship program. I do hope that they are able to get as much data as possible, and go through all of the timeline events as far down the line as they can.
Yeah, I mean, SpaceX. Go on, right.
Sorry, we could be into prop loading. I'm trying to tell if the subcoolers are really punched. It looks like they're starting to get pressure behind them. So the methane reclaim needs to kind of fully shut off, but the subcoolers definitely look like they got pressure behind them. So we might be into getting sub-chilled propellant all the way to the booster right now. So we'll have to watch for frost to start showing up within the next 5 to 10 minutes here. And it'll actually be a little bit harder this time with all the paint, so we may not see like frost for a little bit longer than that. We'll have to wait and see here, but they may be getting into prop load here, which would give us like a 935, 940 T0, give or take. That's kind of what we're looking at. So.
Once we get into prop load, I'll be handing over to Ryan Caton to host this stream because I'll be busy with my bandicamming for Eclipse Rex and what have you. So we'll be swapping over. So we are looking towards when we start seeing frost on the vehicle, which is not far off at this point. The test itself, Ryan, Christopher wants to know, is the top deck deluge needed for a static fire? Will they need to test it before the static fire? Well, they have tested it before, haven't they, without a booster on the pad, but will they be using the full deluge system with the top deck as well during the static fire test?
No, it's useless during a static fire test. It doesn't do anything. The top deck is there for is to protect the launch mount, server structure, and around the tower during a launch. There is no exhaust impingement on the top deck. If there is exhaust impingement on the top deck of the mount today, we have a massive problem because that means the booster has taken off when it shouldn't have. So that better not happen. We don't want a dynamic fire. We don't want that. No. We don't want that. No bueno.
And for people just joining, because we are getting more and more people joining all the time, it's probably right that we give a status update on what we expect today. Resonant Live provides that vehicle for us to answer it by saying, do you think we'll see them do a static fire and a full stack wet dress rehearsal today? I know the answer to that, Alex, but Alex, maybe explain what we expect today.
Well, I can already answer the last question. No, we will definitely not see a full stack wet dress because the ship rollout has been delayed to tonight at midnight. So we are definitely not going to have that today. I will say probably not tomorrow either. We're probably going to get that rollout in the night and then full stack in the morning / afternoon. And then they'll probably do it sort of somewhere in the weekend. I would not be surprised if later today we see like another round of closures for testing this weekend. But yeah, as for today, we hope to see some kind of testing on Booster 19, and hopefully that'll be a static fire test. The clue will be the kind of levels that we see on the propellant, right? If we start seeing like the last booster test that they did on the last round was like a wet dress sort of thing with just booster, right? We started seeing propellant load on the methane tank way earlier. It was like, yeah, this is probably going to be a full load, and they fully loaded the booster for that test. But for static fires, they only load the liquid oxygen tank fully. The methane tank comes a little bit later in the count, and it gets only like a couple of rings, plus the transfer tube, of course. But yeah, that's mainly what we'll look for.
Very good. Yep. Chris W., one of our team, one of our mods. Thank you for gifting 502 memberships. So you've been playing it forward big time there. And Byford's here. Byford, always a regular. Thank you, Byford, who sent a massive super chat and used the opportunity to say something in that super chat by saying, "This is May happy static fire day contribution, and please everyone like this awesome channel I host today, Chris, Alex, and Ryan." Byford, you could have asked a question or anything like. I mean, you're regular, so I know you know most of the answers anyway. But that is a lovely thing to do. Thank you very much, Byford. Dennis4 official asked a question that a lot of people do ask over time, and that is, what will happen to Falcon 9 Heavy once Starship enters commercial operation? Ryan, you first. I'll give Alex as well, but Ryan first.
If you were to ask me this a while back, I would say Falcon 9 would stay in operation for a while. I think like True Dragon will stay in operation for a good chunk of time. It's still incredibly useful and a cargo dragon. It's good for quick, smaller resupplies to space stations and stuff like that. But as for like launch cadence, well, the fact that just read the instructions is being decommissioned for Falcon 9 and being converted into a transport barge kind of says that they're going all in on Starship. And they're going to like shift operations to Starship like as quick as possible and as much as possible right away. I still think Falcon 9 will be in operation with different, like NSSL launches, NROL launches, so like national security launches and stuff like that. And, some customer payloads, and then of course Cargo and Crew Dragon for probably the next 10 years maybe. Until Starship can like do crew, but as for like Starlinks, it might die much sooner than we thought.
There's also the question of like what sort of means enters commercial operation, because Starship is just a whole different beast, right? Than Falcon 9. Falcon 9 can launch.
I find it fascinating because we've seen a long-range projection in the manifest, and they do go on for many, many years, and they've got contracts. They've always had contracts for Falcon 9. It's not been an issue for SpaceX. All praise to Gwen Shotwell, who has done an amazing job in her role at SpaceX that often gets overlooked, although not too much because she does a lot of interviews and is front and center as the president of SpaceX. But that is something people say, Elon is like the chief designer and what have you. I always find him as someone who's hired a brilliant, brilliant team. That's the biggest praise I'd give to Elon, is that he has found the right people, which is a big talent in itself, to achieve the goals that he has in his head. Because you need that. You need to be able to say, this is what I would like to happen, and get the people in who can then make that happen. So it's a big thing that when the history of SpaceX is written, as Eric Berger's done several books on already, in the future, in like 50 years' time, they'll look back to the team involved in this, and Miss Shotwell would be front and center of that. I would have no question about it at all. Let's also update the status on what we were hoping would be a Ship 39 joining the party not long after this potential static fire test, and that is the road delays. Ryan, can you update us on where we are with these road delays now? Because people are joining and probably wondering, why do the road delays keep moving around? What does this mean for today's testing? We've got a static fire coming up, and then pause, and then tonight we'll see Ship 39 roll out. Yep.
As of right now, and I say as of right now because it's SpaceX and who knows what they're going to do. The road delay is set up for midnight to 4 a.m. for a roll from production to pad. We assume that's going to be Ship 39, and then that would probably mean an early morning stack or something along those lines tomorrow. And then I would guess checkouts all day, and then they'd probably try to do a wet dress on Saturday. So to use up, that would make 3 of 5 weekend closures already for the year to be used up under their environmental assessment stuff. But basically, it seems like SpaceX is kind of trying to push real hard to get this stack out to get a wet dress done. So it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason Ship got ready, because they were ready. They seemed like they were going to roll it today, and then they pushed it again. So we've seen them bring it forward before, so who knows? Maybe they'll do it, or maybe maybe it'll roll tomorrow afternoon. Who even knows at this point?
It's
But
weird
either
to me
way-
because. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you were done.
Go ahead.
The point that I was trying to make is that it seems weird to me because originally the road closure was like for the transport of the ship was at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think it was, right? That will be enough today. Like if Ship is ready to go, this static fire may happen hopefully in the next hour. Let's cross our fingers. If it is a static fire, of course. But whatever they do with the booster, it might happen within the next hour, and then there's like another hour and a half to detank, right, and save the booster. That still will be within that 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. window for them to roll out the ship and stack. So I'm really wondering what prompted them to delay this road delay, no pun intended, to midnight tonight. Like, what are they doing here, right? Is it because Ship 39 is not fully ready? Is it something else? I have no idea, to be honest.
Yeah, Nikki in chat. I just spotted it in corner of my eye, Nikki. That's why I think it's good we're talking about this right now, because it can be confusing. But I mean, your point here is I'm confused why Ship 39 rolling out of Booster 19 needs to roll back of the Saturday. I get where you're going with that question. No, Booster will stay at the pad. It'll just be a longer wait until Ship 39 joins it, and then they'll full stack. So it'll be full stack probably when you turn the channel on tomorrow. Will be full stack, and we're looking forward to a wet dress rehearsal at some point. So that's where we are with this. There's so many great questions here. I'm hoping I'm going to put as many as possible into the queue for Ryan when he takes over hosting. But this one, we might not know the answer to, Ryan, but AKA Soft Banana, that is the username. How many engines have been replaced since the last static fire test?
No idea. I'm
No, we don't do
entirely
it.
honest.
Yeah.
They could have replaced the all inner 13, and I think that is vapor off the booster. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
That's vapor off the booster, so that's going to be start of. Kind of curious to see how the frost works with the paint. It might just freeze the paint and get frost on the paint. We'll have to watch here, because as we know, it doesn't take long for them to load this thing, so we might see it shortly.
Very good. A question I've always wanted to know, and I assumed is a yes as the answer. But the question is, do the chopsticks have a safety brake like elevators in the case of a cable brake?
Nope.
Ryan, that's pad systems. I would assume yes. You're going to say no?
Nope. If that cable breaks, what would most likely happen is if it breaks with a vehicle, the weight of the vehicle would cause the entire carriage to pin itself against the tower. It might fall a little bit, but it would probably cantilever and then like angle pin itself against the tower. At which point then you have sticks, a carriage and a vehicle hanging from the tower. And if and maybe the vehicle slides off the sticks, and there's a whole bunch of things that could happen with that. But nope, there's no break. If the cable breaks and the entire cable comes undone, it's gonna fall. Yep.
Yep. I'm about to hand over the reins, but before I do, I'm going to cause chaos because I got mad with power. Where are you all watching from? I always find it fascinating. Sorry, mods in advance, but I always find it fascinating where people are watching from because it's usually all around the world, and it is just fascinating to know that you're talking to people literally around the globe. I do find that fascinating. We've got Switzerland, Germany, UK, Orlando, Maryland. Oh, he's going to scroll really fast. Belfast, Germany. I'm going to miss people out here. Colorado, Australia. Oh, my word. Central Florida, Poland, Argentina. Lots of Germans, by the way. London, Nottingham. More Germans. There's so many Germans watching. It's crazy. Look at the amount of Germans. Hull, East Yorkshire. Wow. I survived Brandsham. You'll know what that means. Skipton, Victoria, Austria, South Africa, Colorado, Brazil, France, Kosovo, Portugal. So many Germans. So many. Unless there's a person just spamming Germany. Michigan, Russia, Chicago, Poland, Kenya, Sydney. Wow, that is bonkers. That is such a great spread around the globe. And yes, someone put Earth and someone will put Mars. Every single time you do that, you'll get someone saying Mars. On that bombshell, let me say it's time for prop loading time, which means you've got to get Numpty me off and get someone professional on to host the stream. And that would be Mr. Ryan Caton. Welcome, Ryan.
Professional?
Yeah.
Professional?
You're a better host than I am.
I'll take your word for it.
It's true.
We still have the British accent, though. We don't lose that.
Well, it's Norfolk.
Careful.
Yeah. I belong in the north. Anyway, on that, take over, Ryan. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. I'm here, and I have been definitely paying very close attention to everything that's been going on. So for everyone else who hasn't, Ryan Webber, could you explain what's been happening over the last hour or so? Maybe before as well, as SpaceX has been getting ready.
Oh, have you been paying attention? I'm just
Very much so. I'm actually going to make sure everything you're saying is correct.
Okay. But basically, they started the methane reclaim vent around 7:45 a.m. or so, and about right on cue, about an hour and 15 or give or take into chill down, they really started to prop load. That was around 9 is when the subcoolers started going a bunch. And now here we are about 9:11, give or take 9:12 is when we started seeing, some kind of, basically clouds coming off the booster, suggesting that they were in the middle. They were really starting to prop load. And now we've got frost. So they are loading propellants out of the booster right now. We're kind of expecting a static fire, considering a tanking test might be a little redundant. They did a gas test last night. They closed the road for about 2 hours, pressurized the tanks, probably pressurized the COPVs, and probably they might have the road just to be a little bit extra safe. And then they vented off the booster. And here we are, they're loading prop, hopefully for a static fire. The trench exits are clear. Everything's buttoned up. They moved and the other indicator I would say is the fact that the booster transport stand was moved up Highway 4 again. Thank you, SpaceX, for not blocking our view of the trench exit this time around. They kind of put it right around the service structure although the clouds are doing a good job of that anyways, but those will go away when they fire the engines. But yeah, we're kind of expecting a 33 engine static fire. Hopefully a full duration, if that's like 10 to 20 seconds or something like that.
I mean, you're thanking SpaceX for not blocking the trench view from our highway site with that transport stand, but I'm looking at our behind-the-scenes camera views here, and I'm currently counting 5, if not 6 cameras, which are entirely fogged out right now and actually cannot see anything. So maybe the transport stand isn't the biggest of our worries right now, considering how cloudy it is at Starbase this morning.
Yeah, the wind is not blowing in the good direction for those clouds to not be on our cameras.
Yes, indeed. And Alex, people might be joining right now, just like myself, who's seeing, we're just prop loading. Maybe I have some time to go go watch something else and come back a bit later. But the propellant load on this version of booster is stupendously fast.
Yeah, if you watch something, it might be like a short movie, something like that, like something like that is 5 or 10 minutes, maybe our latest video. I don't know which one is our latest video, to be honest. But I think it was Starship update. You might be able to see Starship update video, that latest video, and still have enough time for the static fire. But yeah, it might be within the next 25 minutes, right? Right? Like that's one of the things that we were talking about before, that it takes about 35 minutes or so from the start of propellant load until we see that, that test. So we'll see.
Just crossed 18 minutes past 9 in the morning local time. We are getting loads of questions. Do keep them coming. Tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. First of all, Herwabrice. Sorry if I'm definitely pronouncing that incorrectly. But either way, they're asking, how does the new hot stage ring support the ship compared to the previous one? It seems less robust, yet it will support more weight than the former one. Of course, booster version 3 includes the integrated truss you can see at the top of the booster there. Previously, Ryan, they used a separate ring, which they kind of just put on top and called it a day, to solve the not needing to do a 360-degree rotation to separate the two vehicles. How do these different hot stage rings compare? Because yeah, there's certainly less steel, at least it appears from this angle.
So the old design basically had the original booster forward, and then they put a 10-ton or about 9-ton hot stage ring on it with a bunch of reinforcement to take the exhaust blast and also help hold the load of the ship. This new one integrates all of that, and it takes basically a CNC machined ring, hooks it in with bolts and a truss system that if you do the static, so it's called statics is the math for it, using that, you can basically say, okay, here's your load path and everything, and basically it'll distribute the entire load of a 1,500-ton ship fully loaded through the truss system and into the tank, and then basically throughout the rest of the vehicle. And then there's also likely some extra supports under that dome, plus around the grid fins right there to kind of hold not only the grid fins but the forward dome up. So it's a lot of it's more integrated. The trussing, the truss systems, and everything else, it's kind of more integrated into the whole vehicle as a whole. It's a much nicer design. It's N1 is basically what it is. Very N1-esque, and I like it a lot more than the hot stage ring. It's a lot more open and it kind of looks cooler.
It almost seems like with every iteration of this vehicle, SpaceX is slowly but surely gravitating towards the design of the N1, and Starship version 10 is just going to be the M1. That's just what it's going to be, because every time they iterate this vehicle, they make it just slightly more M1-esque. Here's some of the squealing. We have another question here from Marco. They are asking if there are any plans to expand the Massey's test site given the expected production ramp-up. It kind of has a moat, so it'd be a little bit difficult, I would assume, unless they want to kind of expand along the road to Massey's, perhaps. I'm not sure on that one.
So they actually have a land swap in place. It isn't approved yet. It's at a proposal for a land swap to get a bunch of the land to the west and the east of Massey's. So in theory, if they were to get that land, they could branch off of Massey's Way and make basically make 2 more Massey's on either side. So have more cryo-proof stations, maybe even another static fire stand for ships, and other things. So there is a land swap that they're looking at. It is not approved yet. but it is out there to like it'd be like 3 or 4 times the land expansion on Massey's, or something to that effect. It'd be a decent expansion to fill in all that land. I don't know if they fill in the moat, but they definitely would try to
Yeah.
take some of the land around it.
I mean,
That's-
it wouldn't be the most ambitious, engineering job of all time, just, filling in the moat. Things like that have been done plenty of times before around the world, but
No,
I wonder
but-
if there's an environmental thing that might go into that as well. Probably wouldn't be happy taking away, like, habitats and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's part of the land swap kind of thing. I think the more ridiculous engineering challenge for filling something in, and I know someone brought it up earlier, is the Louisiana thing that people have been talking about. That's literally swampland down there. That's swamp and marshes, like right at the Mississippi Delta and whatnot. That's the engineering required to fill all that in and build like a launch site or like a massive factory or Terra Bay in that area, especially the size of the area that SpaceX is looking to acquire, which is like a total of like 130,000 acres, like 200 square miles, that's insanity. Especially in an area that it's relatively remote with one road in and out. At least at Boca, you have somewhat solid ground to fill in and work on. Like the expansion didn't take that long to fill in, but that's not marshland like that is.
Yeah. Always fun working at launch sites because they are right adjacent to the sea, which, always fun to do big structural engineering works with a high water table. Just ask Disney, famously. trying to build a theme park on a swamp. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So much venting going on. Just look at the clouds. I mean, I think this, unless I'm misremembering, I think this might be some of the biggest clouds that we have seen for booster testing. I mean, they're literally rising to the height of the booster itself on the launch mount. What's that, like 90 meters or something? It's crazy.
Yeah, the wind today is carrying everything right. This is a great view. Where's the booster?
This is SpaceX's, anti-corporate espionage technology.
The wind and the conditions down there, which it's kind of, I think the humidity is kind of high. Let me look at what the conditions are in Port Isabel down there. It's 90% humidity, 80 degrees. So, and the wind is east at 8 miles an hour. Well, the winds must be different down at the launch site than it is at Port Isabel, because that's definitely not easterly on that wind. I'll just say that. It's kind of west. Almost due west, in fact. But yeah, it's pretty humid down there, so like you're not getting a lot of the clouds just kind of stick around. But I'll just say this: when they go to static fire it, a lot of it will just vanish. A lot of the clouds will just vanish.
Let's see. Speaking of corporate espionage, Helios Aerospace is asking, is that Pad 1 gantry structure that we can see through the Pad 2 trench right now? It was probably a previous view from a little while ago, but SpaceX is building up that Pad 1 infrastructure for the new design of Pad 1.
Yep, they're milding it off to the side because the ground around the trench is not ready yet. So they're basically pre-fabbing it in a staging area, and then the LR 11,000 will just pick it up and put it into place once it's ready, and once the ground's ready.
Probably go through a little bit more support as well, which we've been getting over the last 20 minutes or so. Anti-Zero, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. That means you now get access to the Discord server. Anonymous has been on the store saying that their last one got porch pirated. I'm very sorry to hear that, but thank you nonetheless for once again purchasing the Starbase Retro mouse pad at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Thank you for your support. JJ, thank you for your support. They are asking, what are the plans for Orion and SLS when SpaceX apply the lander and refueling? What is the SLS and Orion going to be used for in those later missions, or will they not be used at all? Well, very briefly, Ryan, the Artemis 3 and 4 architecture, it sees a Orion being launched on SLS and then docking with a lander. So they're both going to be used for those initial missions.
Yeah, basically. Once I don't know what SLS and Orion's fate is later into the program, later into Artemis as a whole, but basically, for Artemis 3, Orion's gonna dock with HLS, and Artemis 4 they're gonna dock with HLS as well, and then HLS will undock in lunar orbit, and then they'll land on the moon, and then come back up, redock with Orion, and then leave again. So they need Orion one way or the other. So yeah.
Yeah, Orion is the only spacecraft which currently exists, which can take humans to the moon and back through that re-entry, and that is a very, very dynamic phase of flight. So that's really the key component on certifying a spacecraft to be able to carry humans that far. And Orion is the only one that can do it. No other spacecraft can do that right now. Astro95 Media, Nathan is in chat. Thank you for your support. What is Ryan Webber's take on how they'll execute the booster flip without the blocked hot staging vents we saw on flights 9, 10, and 11? Will it be directional or will it be random again? Well, they don't have those blocked vents this time, Ryan, but I think they're doing something slightly different to try and get the same effect.
It'll be using the ship ignition sequence to help control where the booster flips, as well as thrust vector. So thrust vector control plus ship ignition sequence to help using the engine thrust to direct the booster, and then of course booster thrust vector control as well. So a combination of a bunch of different things to flip the booster in the direction they want to flip it in.
Brain M, thank you for becoming a Padrat member. And Noah, thank you for your support as well. Rest assured, we have plenty of cameras. We are going to be bringing you as many zooming in views like this one as possible. So don't fear, we will be bringing you closer cameras when they are available.
Should be getting methane frost soon. It's usually about 20 minutes or so after the start of booster LOX load, and then of course it's when they start getting closer to the top of the larger chines, which they're almost there. So we should see booster methane frost very shortly here.
Continuing to get frosty as LOX and methane gets loaded onto the vehicle. Of course, right now with this new booster design, they have that huge Falcon 9 booster size transfer tube. Yeah, there you go. The clouds are getting in the way again. But they have that huge transfer tube, which means it takes a little while before we actually see the methane frost line start to rise on the methane tank itself. But that doesn't mean they're not loading methane.
Yeah, they're slowly loading methane right now. The methane subcooler vent kind of, good. It gets a bunch of pressure behind it, then it kind of slows down. Gets a bunch of pressure behind it, slows down. Because they're not loading at max rate right now, and they're probably not even using all 4 pumps, because they don't need to load a full tank of methane. They only need to load the transfer tube plus about a ring or so, a little bit more than that of the right just above the common dome. So they're not loading as fast. We saw on the booster wet dress rehearsal they did that. All the subcooler vents were running at max for the entire time. Probably running all the pumps at max as well. So that's why we don't see the methane frost till later on this. I think it was when they were only at a quarter of the blocks tank on that wet dress rehearsal is when we saw methane frost appear. It should be coming up any minute now.
Speaking of that tank, D Freeman 777 is asking, what is that black circle on the booster? Is that paint or an open access hatch? I do hope it isn't an open access hatch at this point, Ryan, but that is an access hatch, right? So they can get inside, and obviously not right now, but inside the bays and stuff.
It is an access hatch, so they can get access to the methane tank. There is a ladder on the inside that goes down and onto the common dome, and then that ladder goes down the common dome and to the transfer tube, and then there's a ladder on the transfer tube that goes all the way down the transfer tube. So that's like a 50-meter long ladder to get all the way down to the bottom of the booster inside the transfer tube, or almost to the bottom of the booster, just going through that hatch. That's maybe just once I want to go down that ladder, but you know.
Hope you don't get stuck at the bottom. Certainly a long way down.
I think.
Are we seeing some frost?
Condensation. There it is. Yep, there it is.
Starting to form on the right-hand side of those stringers. Building up now. And they're kind of bending around to the other side as well.
So about 9:32 or so, 9:32 and 30 seconds. Trying to get all my time down so I know exactly what it is going to be on launch day here. So
yep.
With that, let's see here. We could have a booster test in about 10 minutes. So maybe 9:42. 9:43, give or take. Somewhere around there is my guess on the T0. We will have to watch and wait to see. We'll have the two drains that'll pop up. Although I don't think we're actually going to see the drain vents because of how much fog there is around. That's going to be kind of hard to tell. So we'll have to try to keep an eye out to see if we can see those or not.
A couple of questions as we do get closer towards the predicted T0 time today. First of all, Matthew is asking, are the landing tanks loaded during these tests even though they are not used?
I would assume yes. I would assume that the CH4 landing tank it's kind of enclosed, kind of not enclosed. That would basically passively fill with the transfer tube anyways. As far as I understand, I don't think there's a valve that blocks it. The LOX landing tank does, as far as I remember, there is a valve off of it. So in theory, they wouldn't have to fill it, but I don't see why you would not fill it. It wouldn't really be that great to have that much liquid oxygen around it and not have that tank filled. That's not great for pressure reasons and everything else, so you might as well fill it anyways and pressurize it. Because the last thing you want to do is do a booster 7 transfer tube and collapse the landing tank. That would not be good. So you might as well fill it anyways and you know, equalize the pressures and everything like that. Yeah, so be suboptimal.
And as we approach the test itself, we've seen a couple static fires so far from this booster, neither of which have gone 100% to plan. SpaceX have admitted themselves the ground support equipment hasn't been able to keep up with the, protecting the pad itself from those Raptor engines, whether that be 10 engines or 33. We have a couple people asking in chat, what should we expect? Astro Sandy is asking, do we expect a full duration on all of the engines? Jacob is asking 60-second static fire. I'll go around the room. Alex, let's start with you. What do you think? Do you think SpaceX are going to go full and out? Are they going to try whatever idiom you want to use here, like go all the way?
I don't think it's going to be a 60-second static fire, to be honest. It doesn't seem to me that Pad 2 is able to do that sort of thing. It might just be 10 seconds like we've seen so far, right? The previous static fires of boosters used to be like 10 seconds, maybe 8. Some of the shortest good static fires, right? There's been, of course, way shorter static fires than 8 seconds, but like static fires that ran for the full planned duration and like we didn't see extra testing or whatever, it used to be anywhere between 8 to 10 seconds, right? So it could be just like that. The whole reason we thought the previous static fires were short were because precisely those two, the first one was like 1 second and the other was like 2 or 3, right? So they were not especially as long as we had been used to, right? So it might just be that 8 to 10 seconds today. There was another question that you mentioned about, are they going to fire all the engines? Yes, that's probably going to be what we're going to see, right? They're probably going to run all the engines just like they tried the last time around and see what happens. I know some of the chat has also been asking, like, why is it important that they fire the engines? Like, couldn't they test the Deluge system on its own? And the answer is that, yes, they've done that multiple times, even after the static fires, right? The problem is that Deluge system has a pressure going out, right? Like the water comes out at a certain pressure, and then you've got the engines with their thrust pushing down on that water, and so you need to calibrate that. It's not the same when you are just with air outside, right? Like if right now they were to fire the Deluge system, there's no thrust or anything like that firing on that Deluge. But when you have that extra pressure, it sort of affects the way that the water is coming out, and so that is very important for them to be able to test that interaction between the engine thrust and the pressure coming out of the Deluge system. So that was exactly what happened on the last two static fires. They had an issue with that, and they're trying to get through all that.
Do you have any other thoughts, Ryan, or do you agree with Alex's answer?
It's pretty much, I agree with Alex on that one. I would say 10 to 20 seconds, somewhere in there. And I hope it goes the full duration. I don't want to see another abort. I want to see a nice long static fire. It'd be nice.
Yeah, they have been struggling a little bit, but we have seen them testing that Deluge system time and time again. I don't think we've ever seen a Deluge system be tested as much as Pad 2's Deluge system. Testing it so much that even, some of the gas generators got a bit bored and started liberating themselves and flying into the sky. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen today. But yeah, need to be able to protect your launch pad against 33 of the most powerful engines ever built.
And since we've also gotten some questions about that specific issue that we saw with the Deluge, was it like a few days ago, like last week? I don't remember now. Time is a circle. For people that we answer this, but for people that might be new to this stream, we said that the particular gas generator that they blew up right during that test was actually from the top deck. It's like separate systems, right? So that was for the top deck. Top deck Deluge doesn't really fire off during a static fire. They could, if they wanted, but doesn't need to be, because it's one of those things that only fires after the rocket lifts off, right? So for static fires, you only need the trench itself. The trench Deluge, that diverter basically needs the Deluge. For launch, then you fire not just the Deluge on the trench, but also on the top deck once it lifts off. But for a static fire, you don't need it. So that's why they're good for today's test.
We are getting closer to that predicted T0 time. Ryan, just for people who may have joined us in the last few minutes or so, what are you thinking right now for kind of a predicted T0? When do you think that could happen?
I'm still thinking around like 9:43, 9:44, give or take, right around 9:43. That cloud behind the booster there will die down a lot as the box fan vent, the subcooler vents basically die off as they finish off prop load. The true finish of prop load will be right in front of us here. On the left side, you'll see venting off of a LOX drain, so they're draining liquid oxygen out of the lines for the service structure. And on the right side, they will be draining liquid methane out. And don't worry, they can drain liquid methane. They can basically vent or drain 7 tons of of methane out per test. So that's not really a big issue. And they'll be separated drains, so there's no issue of them, igniting or anything along those lines. So basically, waiting for those drains to turn on. I think the tank farm's dying down a little bit. There's the methane drain right there off to the side. So methane loading is done. Next up will be the LOX drain. So we are definitely within like a minute and a half of the test, give or take. So yeah, I would guess about 9:43 or so. And then there's like this little like side vent on the bunker we'll see, but from this view, it might be a little bit blocked by the vent, but we might be able to catch it on another camera. But we're close. I think that's lock strain started, so that should be full completed with prop load. So give it about a minute and a half, and we should be at our test.
Awesome news. As that venting continues from the base of the vehicle there, most of our camera views still obscured by clouds. Luckily, we have the closer-up cameras to still see the booster, but don't go anywhere. We are expecting a static fire in maybe seconds from now, maybe a minute from now. We'll just have to wait and see. Our next kind of visual indication of them protecting the pad and trench will, of course, be the detonation suppression system, followed by the water deluge, and then, fingers crossed, good ignition of 33 Raptor engines, if that is indeed the number that they are going for. But we will continue watching and standing by, as we could be just seconds away from a static fire of Booster 19. They've tried it twice before, once with 10 engines, once with 33. Haven't been able to get many seconds of firing out of this booster.
Oh. Was that... There's usually a vent on the side. There we go. There's the DSS, detonation suppression system on.
Next up will be the water deluge system, and then ignition of perhaps 33 Raptor engines. Stand by, everybody. And that was the DSS running. Didn't see much deluge. And that looks like maybe an abort of a static fire. Yep, the trench is now clearing. So that was the detonation suppression system running in the base of the launch mount there. Not much else to be seen from this particular camera view. So unfortunately, if they were targeting a static fire today, that has obviously not gone ahead. But there's also the possibility that they were just targeting a test of the DSS. But, you know, why would they fuel the vehicle if they were doing that? But obviously we can't say for certain, but all the indications were pointing towards a 33 engine static fire today, which has obviously not gone ahead.
It looks like they activated the DSS, and then they went to try to activate the Deluge, and from what I can tell, the depress of the Deluge immediately activated. So they depressed the Deluge. I think it's in depress right now. I think it's it'd be on beach 2J. Pretty sure it's depressing. Well, it did go for a bit, but it's not doing it anymore. I'd be kind of curious if they would... Are they detanking? Let me see here. There's so many clouds. It's hard to tell if they're detanking or not.
And Ryan, to clarify here, you saw that vent, right, of the deluge about to activate, and then it aborted. Was that?
Yeah, you can see it. Oh,
hang on.
Stand by for ignition.
Switcheroo.
I think we call that a recycle.
Yeah, I think they had a deluge issue. They recycled and then they went, and I think that was
That's nice.
Total 12.
Yeah.
That was many more seconds than before, and that caught us all by surprise.
That's amazing because, you know, with the previous pad they will not have been able to recycle, but they were able to that late into the countdown, which is
That was
good
like
for
15
launches in the
seconds.
future. I mean,
So
My oh my.
yeah, that was
I
cool.
am flabbergasted in the best possible
I gotta
way.
say, this camera had a really good shot of the ignition process. It caught me by surprise, but we'll see the replay soon.
Because-
Just saying.
it was odd because they activated the DSS. I saw the depress on I saw the depress on the Deluge go, and then it shut off, and then I saw it come back on again. And while I was staring at it, all of a sudden I saw the weir vent activate, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. I was asking you about it. I was like, well, so we saw that abort on the Deluge, and then suddenly as you start talking, I was like, wait, is that the weir vent? on the left? And I was like, "Ooh, what? The Deluge is going now." Okay, that was fun. And it's also a really good show off of the capabilities of this new pad because they can recycle that late into the count.
And I think, on top of it, the most important thing, not only did the booster survive, not only did the GSE survive, but I think all of our cameras survived as well.
Yep.
Maybe a bit scarred, but I think they survived. We will be pulling the replays right now and showing them to you as soon as they are ready. But that was what looks like maybe a quarter of a minute static fire or so, maybe.
That cloud.
It didn't help that the cloud was sort of in the way. Yeah, that cloud is a different one that I'm talking about. So the cryogenic cloud went in the way of the trench as well, which didn't let us see that the DSS fired again. That was also one of the problems. I was looking at the trench and I was looking back, and I was like, yeah, it fired off again within like a minute and a half, and then yeah, after the abort.
These
Scrolling back
weather
and
conditions
forth.
are certainly not ideal for viewing testing such as this.
Yeah.
Making the vents a little bit more venty than they would be otherwise. Well,
I just want to say I cannot wait for these replays. Looking at some of the wider shots and everything, it's once it really starts running for a while, it's just like you're peering into the gates of, like is what it looks like when you're looking at the actual trench exit. It's hilarious.
Oh, the shutdown was staggered.
Yeah, I noticed that too. My guess is
well,
that was.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. We do have replays on the way, so I'm sure we can analyze all of this when we have some footage to look at while we continue to watch Booster 19 and the pad safe and get ready for detanking after what looks like a successful 33 engine test of Super Heavy for the very first time.
Yeah, my guess is they expanded they might have expanded some envelope on some of their sensors that they have, and definitely probably worked around some of the stuff on the Deluge system. But yeah, that's the first time this Deluge system has worked fully. So that's a good sign for launch. And I can't wait to see this footage.
Okay, while we are waiting to get some replays for you guys, Alex, could you just take us through kind of your initial thoughts on that? I mean, when do you think we could be seeing? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to launch this thing. So how do you think this all kind of points towards launch?
Well, it does seem to me that so they're planning a launch next Friday, not tomorrow, but like next week's Friday, right, on the 15th. So essentially 8 days from now. Today's test, having run for that long, it really bodes well for them, right? We'll have to see when the ship goes out, when they start stacking and they do the wet dress rehearsal, or whatever other things that they may try to do with a full stack. Because remember, it will be the first time a ship is out there on pad 2, right? And stacked on a booster on the pad. So who knows what sorts of things they might be able to do. We know that both booster, at least the booster is not fully ready to fly just yet, right? They still need to do a few closeouts and whatnot. So it'll probably be rolled back. Ship 39, unless we see any sort of, payload loading today or anything like that, it'll probably have to roll back again as well for that process. So it's a lot of things that need to happen in a rather short amount of time. We'll see what happens. I think today's test obviously puts them in a good path. I was already saying in the back channel after the abort, this is what happens, or no, what was it? This is what gets you to a launch after Memorial Day or something like that. Memorial Day is like 25th, so I was thinking like 26 maybe could be the launch date. We'll see what happens, but that's one of the things that this test being good, or at least seemingly good, might put them in a good path for a launch maybe next week. We'll see.
Well, we'll just have to, as you said, wait and see what SpaceX gets up to. Ryan, on that note, I'm trying to find it here, but somebody did ask. Oh yeah, Metal Mani is asking, will they have to roll back after a static fire, or could they move the transport stand and inspect the booster off of that? I mean, they have a booster stacked on the pad right now. They've just fired 33 engines for, it looks like, maybe a quarter of a minute or so. Why do they need to go back? What do we expect next?
I expect the rollback. I expect ship to roll out first, then do a wet dress rehearsal, then booster rollback, and do a get some inspections on the engines, make sure everything's done. They have to take all the static fire hardware that's on there. So there's a bunch of testing on wire harnesses and stuff that's hooked up. That all has to get taken off the booster. They have to finish closing out all the chines. Probably FTS install. I don't think they would static fire it with FTS installed. Not especially with how new the booster is and the pad and everything. So get that probably taken care of. And then once it's all said and done, roll the booster back out to the pad and then stack the ship on it and go. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done, and it's way, way easier, and they kind of have to do the rest of it in the barn. So
luckily it's only an hour or so down the road to roll it out. It's not like SLS where it takes half a day to get the vehicle out to the pad, and then it takes another 2 weeks to actually get it settled. Luckily, Super Heavy and Starship, for that matter, can roll out a little bit quicker than some of their counterparts. We did get some support over the course of the static fire, so I should probably read that out. Sausage Man, thank you for your support, saying that it's crazy to think I started following the Starship program when I was in year 9. Now I'm in my first year of university for a degree in mechanical engineering. That's very cool. We have Daniel, thank you for becoming a Capcom member, and Schrodinger's Cat saying great coverage NSF. Here's to an observation-free static fire, and at least to my untrained eyes, did look pretty observation free. Maybe some of our deployable cameras disagree and might need a little bit of a wipe, but at least they survived. And a great way to commemorate such a beautiful, successful static fire is with some items which might take your interest at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, because we have just 2 remaining of the collector pin sets with the Starship tile kind of display stand. A couple of those are left, just 2 of them left, literally numbers 199 and 200. So if you want one of those, they are available in the shop. But also, all of the pins individually are available in the shop now as well. So if you just, you only care about Flight 5, then you can just get the Flight 5 pin. It's up to you. And they're all available separately, or as a collection, or as the collection with the display stand, which 2 of which are left in the shop. As I said, literally serial number 199 and 200. So if pins are your thing and you want to commemorate some wonderful launches with some awesome designs, those are all available literally from every single flight that we've had so far. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And the shrug one. I can't call it, it's not really the shrug patch. It's the shrug pin is also available. So there you go. Cameron has been on the shop, getting one of the whiskey glasses there. Great static fire today. Thank you. Let's see if we've got any more questions. Speaking of the launch pad, this is of course that brand new pad design. That professor is asking, how far behind is the Cape launch pad behind the Starbase pad? Ryan, I'll throw that one over to you.
About six months, maybe a little more, 6 months. They still haven't reeved the stick that, then they have to eventually load test those. There's still a lot of shielding to be installed on the surface structure. The tank farm, if they have the capacity, the tank farm looks nearly ready to go, except for more testing here and there. But the pad itself still has a lot of work to go. So I would say at least 6 months still from now. So we're probably looking at end of the year if they want to launch from there.
And it looks like Anonymous has taken our advice and gotten. They say the last of the pin collections. I don't know if it's exactly the last one or if there is still one more. I'll wait for an update from the store team, but it's definitely one of the last. If it's not the last one, it's the penultimate one. And apparently chat is unhappy, but do stand by, chat. We do have replays on the way, so don't go anywhere. We will be bringing you replays. Don't worry. From all the cameras. Yeah, I've lots of cameras. Let's see here. Snap is asking, why does Starship not need the lightning arrestor towers? Alex, I think it's less Starship and more a matter that Starbase isn't in the same kind of lightning corridor that the Cape happens to be in.
Yeah, not all places need the same kind of lightning protection systems, right? So Florida is especially very lightning. What would the word for that? It sees a lot of lightning. Let's put it that way, right? For example, if you look at the Vandenberg pads, they don't have lightning protection system either, because that's not really a big thing out there. At Starbase, it's also really rare for us to see lightning as often as we see it, for example, in Florida. Florida, especially now in the summer, if you pull up Space Coast Live in the afternoon, you probably see thunderstorms pretty much every single day of the summer in the afternoon. So you probably see lightning pretty much every single day, and many of those lightning strikes as well every single day during the summer. So it's a whole different place, right? So not everywhere you need a lightning protection system. Maybe the Starship pad at 37 will have it. We don't know. We'll see.
Maybe a case like the 39A fixed service structure, where they just put a big rod on top of the tower and have that kind of wire system dropping down. But Starship is a little bit bigger than the Space Shuttle and Falcon 9, though. So,
well, but it's still smaller than the tower. Like when it's fully stacked, it's still below the top of the tower, right? So if you have just one arresting tower and then sort of like it will probably mess with the catches, to be honest, because you will have to thread the needle in between the wires for the catch, right? It's a lot easier for the launch because the launcher only goes in one way, but the catches, depending on the way that the ship or the booster comes through, it probably could be complicated, but maybe they can think about something.
Indeed. And we have Justin, who has gotten the pin collection and display mount, and with that means both of the final mounts are sold, and the pin collection and display mount is sold out. The first run of which is sold out. They could come back at a later date, but for that first run of 200, they are sold out, and Justin got the final one. So congratulations. We also had Brad getting the Flight 11 pin from the store. Of course, the most recent pin of Starship, at least, not counting Artemis. Maybe there's another one to come for Flight 12 when we get a full stack. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see on that one, I guess. The only way to find out is to tune in. So again, we do have replays on the way. There are lots of cameras to go through, which is why it's taking a little while. Quite literally, I'm not exaggerating. There are a lot of cameras to go through. So do bear with us, and we will bring those to you as soon as we have them from that static fire 15 minutes ago or so. That very pretty quarter of a minute, 33 engine static fire, we presume, of Super Heavy Booster 19. Dennis is asking, has the grid fin design changed at all since version 2, apart from removing one? Ryan, the grid fin designs are substantially different on version 3 compared to version 2, aren't they?
Yeah, the grid fin designs are well, there are 3 of them instead of 4 now, and they're about 50% bigger. And not only that, 2 of them have a catch pin basically on them, catch lift pin. And then the other one, which is the rudder fin, is a specially designed one with a slant in it for airflow purposes. So they are basically brand new grid fins from the ground up. And they're, of course, also in cavities that are inside the methane tank now. So the whole system is basically changed on those.
And we have a road closure update from
Jeez.
SpaceX. We have a road delay from the production site to the launch pad today from noon until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That is a 4-hour window for a road delay from the production site to the launch pad.
This
and
is what I said
only
earlier.
one thing I can think of that could take use of that specific closure, and that would be
Oh
Ship
my God.
39, Alex.
I was saying this before, that when they had it from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., it was okay. Because, like, it is already 10 a.m., they're already detanking the booster. It'll probably be fully detanked within an hour or hour and a half, which means, 12 p.m. will have been 2 hours into the previous rollout closure. Then they move it to midnight, and now they're back at like, oh my goodness.
They can't make up their mind.
So they're rolling out Ship 39 as soon as this thing is saved and, the pad is safe to enter and whatnot. It will be fun if they roll out the ship, as they open the road. Ooh, look at that. Replay.
We have the replays. Ooh. All of the cameras are finally downloaded. We have the replays, and there you go. You can see the shockwaves. That's a very sizable.
See the staggered shot down
fire.
there? You can see sort of the flame getting smaller. Either that or they throttle down at the end or something like that. I have no idea.
I mean, just look at the size of the plume here. Let alone the fire which is being flung out of the flame trench on each side. But the size of the plume, I mean, it goes for miles.
Look at that.
It looks so nice. The pressure.
And even though,
wow, that pressure wave coming out of the trench.
You see,
even though we have
sucking in all the clouds, and it just vaporizes the clouds. It looks so awesome.
I was just going to say, even though we have all that fog between this camera and the pad, still we can see. And this is one of our close-up cameras. Salute this camera. It survives, but it gets a little bit knocked. Look at that. Look at the overpressure.
Whoa!
Maybe a slight drop in the signal there for a second.
Gage, go out there and
a bunch of kicked a bunch of stuff onto the lens there. I think I could still see a booster there. I think. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Needs a little bit of a wipe.
Oh, by the way, they are detanking. Most of the methane frost is already gone. I'll just say that. Oh, that pressure wave! Holy cow!
You can clearly see the difference there. You get the pressure wave, then you get them kicking up the steam, and then you get them kicking up the dust. You can see a clear distinction between the kind of the 3 stages of ejector from the trench.
It again. Replay of the replay.
Overpressure, water vapor, and then dust.
I have thoughts about that end of the test, because I said at the beginning they were shutting down. It was a staggered shutdown. And then I sort of said, well, maybe it's also throttle down. I'm starting to think it might have been throttle down, actually.
Or combination.
I think that they run this at 100% thrust.
I mean, I don't know how long they would do it for, but I'm pretty sure the pad can handle it. That the pad can certainly handle 100% thrust. Obviously, it's designed for that.
Wow, look at
But
that.
oh man, that looks absolutely amazing. Oh man.
But yeah, look at the exit on the left or the right. 'Cause you can also see that one. See, it changes and then whoop. Like I can see it being sort of like a throttle down and then shut down. You know what all the rockets does that? SLS with the RS-25 engines. Before shutdown, they throttle down and then whoop, and it shuts down.
All I want is a drone shot like above that plume looking down into the trench, and you just see this like just straight into just this orange, just solid orange color, just looking into the trench. It'll look amazing.
Wow. See, if the weather wasn't that bad today, it will have like a really beautiful blue sky behind it. But this view with a good weather is also very solid, very, very cool.
Oh, and the shock.
The shockwave.
You can see the sound arriving. The sound are definitely arriving. Bird doesn't seem too phased by it. They're just flying away. And there you go, shut down. Okay, another close-in view.
Boom.
Wow, you can see it. Okay.
Oh.
Well, you could see it for a moment there, kind of vaporizing the fog away.
Just seeing
Wow.
that bright spot right there through all the clouds, that's just nuts.
Let's go wider at our highway site, looking down Highway 4.
Man, this is gonna be so cool.
Thing.
Yeah. Especially because now we won't have. Well, we will have the deluge of the top deck in a way, I guess.
Yeah, that'll create a decent cloud, but I think from like this angle, the exhaust will split, it'll lift off. You'll get another cloud when the exhaust plume interacts with the top deck deluge. But considering where the plume is going to be angled to, you should have a full clear of the stack as it rises up into the air and then pitches over from the highway view. It's gonna look awesome. I cannot wait.
Our wider camera there, just by the road, also getting a little bit covered in dirt and dust, but still surviving, which is the important thing.
So I will say this. Because we saw the closure come out for the ship there. I think a transport stand is now gone towards or into Mega Bay 2. It's hard to get views of Mega Bay 2 right now though, but I think there's one in there. So
I mean, that makes sense. If they're rolling the ship out in a couple of hours' time, they need to get a transport stand in there. So good progress towards the ship rollout today. Maybe if they expedite this entire process, I don't want SpaceX to bite off more than they can chew, but we could see a full stack before midnight. I've been instructed by producer Jake Egan that the next one is very good and will have audio.
H-cam for the win.
That just instant shut off, and then like all of a sudden the shaking just stops. It's hilarious.
The shock waves, man. That's what gets me. Boom. And then as it fires, sort of the shock wave still pushing out.
I want to see it again. Can we see it again?
See it again, see it again, see it again.
This is certainly the angle.
Seeing the flames come out at that angle, and then you see the deluge keep coming out again, like this is absolutely amazing. I can wish to have this on launch day. The camera would actually
SpaceX?
probably be fine. Hey, SpaceX,
And-
please.
We know you're watching.
Yeah,
Hi to
I
everybody
beg
at
you.
Star
I beg you,
Factory.
please, I beg you. Like
Yeah.
the camera would probably be fine on the launch date because the trajectory which the vehicle would go, like a lot of the sound and shaking would be deadened by the top deck deluge as well. Like the camera would probably be perfectly fine. I just don't know if SpaceX will allow it. I beg you, SpaceX. I'm gonna beg you, please. Please. Like
We had Kevin in the store saying that they couldn't get the set, but they got the Flight 11 pin nonetheless. And I promise this isn't me, but Ryan has gotten the Kickstart bundle at shop.nasaspaceflight.com as well. So the pins are obviously a fan favorite. I'll be honest, I wasn't that sure that the pins would be so kind of, what's the word? Loved? Popular, that's the word. Popular. But everyone's getting them, so they're obviously very interesting to get. So thank you, and I'm very happy to see that people are happy with their purchases. Let's see here. We have Lunar Wi-Fi who is asking, does the clamp section of Pad 2 have any protection, since it seems to take a lot of heat during takeoff? I mean, we just saw from that static fire, Ryan, that super heavy booster is not going to be gentle to whatever is underneath it. So how does Pad 2 kind of protect itself from the booster at liftoff?
so, as soon as the clamp arms disengage and close, there's little internal protections on for the clamps and everything like that, and then there are hoods that go over the clamp areas. Each arm has a hood that mechanically closes when the arm closes, and then basically the entire arm plus the shielding seals itself with the mount, so that during liftoff there shouldn't be any exhaust gases that get to the inside ring of the mount. That was a massive issue in the past, trying to get the shielding nailed down between all the Raptor QDs and the hold down arms and everything like that. But with the Raptor QDs gone, that's no longer a concern. It's a much better mechanical system to seal itself. So the QDs seal very nicely, the arms seal very nicely, and if there is any kind of exhaust or intrusion, they can have a positive pressure like nitrogen environment inside the mount and the service structure, thus the reason for the extra vents and everything, which then makes it impossible for things to burn, for things to melt and have issues. When you have a good seal, you have a nitrogen environment and all that other stuff. So they've taken care to make sure that alongside the new Deluge, the new trench, all the new designs, that this pad will last a lot longer than the old one would, and the old one did. That required at least a month of refurb just to get it ready for another launch. The hope is that they launch a vehicle off this thing. What they can do is they can open the QDs back up, or open the clamps back up, put another booster on, hook the QDs back up, and it'll be fine. No refurb needed. That is their hope with this, is that they have enough water and enough shielding protection that they won't have any issues going forward.
And we can see that frost is continuing to recede from Booster 19 after that, what appears to be successful static fire about half an hour ago. at this point. Of course, we will await for official confirmation from SpaceX, which, going by what they've done previously, is usually a post on X with some information. But of course, I mean, just to the naked eye, it looks to have gone to plan, and I mean the booster's still there, so could have been worse.
That was a half an hour ago already. Doesn't feel like half an hour ago.
It certainly does not. Certainly does not. Continuing to talk about the launch mount, Infinite Smasher is asking, do we think the launch mount and service structure will get a fresh coat of paint pre-launch? What do you think, Alex?
I don't think so, unless they are very, very quick at painting the whole thing. If they really want to launch in 8 days, they really need to get going, basically. Speaking of which, by the way, when you asked me earlier about the possibility of a flight on the 15th, I said, well, the ship rolling tonight, whatever. Now the ship is rolling in maybe a couple of hours, so they even have a higher chance now, because maybe we get a full stack later today and then a wet dress tomorrow. We'll see.
We will see indeed. Again, if you are still with us and if you still have more questions, we have plenty of time to answer them. So do tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. We have a question here from O. Harris, who is asking, when compared to other orbital vessels, how resistant are the external stainless steel structures of the Starship system, lots of S's in there, against micrometeors and small space debris? I mean, Ryan, it kind of depends how fast they're going, but stainless steel is kind of strong. You can tell how much I know about the subject.
I mean, it depends on the relative velocity between what's going to hit the vehicle and what the vehicle is. Because, like, if you're going at a space of particle of space dust, then that thing's going at like 17,000 miles an hour. I don't think it's going to matter what you have. Depending on what it is, stainless steel is going to be a little bit better than aluminum or the foil origami that was the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, the Apollo lunar lander. But for like longer missions, my guess is, and missions to certain areas, they would probably want to put some debris mitigation stuff on Starship and whatnot. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I would expect them to put some kind of extra protection system on board Starship to really, cover their bases.
Yeah. Especially when you want to put people on that thing, you need it to be as protective as possible. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Thank you for your $5 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. They are asking, how quickly can they refill the water deluge system? If it works correctly and protects the launch pad like they want it to, it seems like the water refill time could be the bottleneck. I mean, they have a lot of water stored in that tank farm, Ryan. So I would imagine it would take them a few trucks to refill, unless they're going to get like a hookup to the water mains or something.
They are, in fact. So they can run this thing like basically twice, in theory, without a refill. And they can even pump some of the used or whatever leftover water, like out of the trench. I don't think it's not operational yet because they've still been trucking it in. But at some point, once it's all hooked up and ready to go, the entire deluge farm will be hooked into a water main line that is from Brownsville, and they will just be able to fill the tanks with that and not have to truck anything in. And at that point, I don't know how long it'll take to fill all the tanks because it's a decent amount of water, but it will definitely cut out on time and everything like that. So basically what SpaceX is trying to do is they're trying to cut down on all the semis going down Highway 4 because it's destroyed Highway 4. So they truck in their methane, they truck in their LN2, they truck in their LOX, they truck in their helium, they truck in their water. They truck all this stuff in. So their plan overall, and it kind of goes into that, is to hook up a water main for the water deluge systems. is to build the ASU for LOX and LN2, which they'll just be able to hook into the tank farm storage tanks and fill it with that, and then have a natural gas pipeline to the launch site and then a liquefaction plant on the launch site so they can liquefy their own natural gas and then pipe that directly, purify it and put that into the tanks. So they might still have to truck some stuff in here and there. But otherwise, their plan is to try to make a lot of stuff on site or have it piped in rather than trucked in.
Still, it's still going to take a little while to fill up those tanks, though, even just on the water mains. Again, if you are still with us, we have got plenty of Starbase action coming up today, so we will be staying live for whatever happens. But if you have any questions, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and that brings it into our nice little queue here. We do our best job at answering them. Along similar lines, Trance is asking, would it make more sense, or would they make fresh water more quickly if they built a desalination plant at/close to the pad? I mean, I have my doubts, but they're building an air separation unit right next to the launch pad, so...
That takes a whole lot to build one of those. It's a power-hungry hog, too. I mean, they're... As far as I understand, just even for the ASU, I don't think they've done it yet. I can't remember, but so it's been like 2 years since they've done it, or even longer than that. They used to run the entire launch site off generators. Literally, it was just generators. They didn't have power going to it. They then ran a bunch of power lines, or at least one main line to the launch site, to just help service the ASU and eventually the methane liquefaction. They're going to have to run even more main lines to the launch site. To do a desalination plant would require even more, and I don't even know where they would put one for that matter. And then what, are you taking water from the Gulf? That's kind of the thing on that one. So I don't think they would ever do it. You might as well just pipe in water through a water main that comes from Brownsville. That's the easier way to do it, to be honest.
We have some more questions in chat on the static fire itself. Very usefully, I've now lost the question. Oh, here it is. JS Web Productions was asking, did it appear to you... no, wasn't that one. Let me find it again. We will ask that question, though, JS Web Productions. But I forgot. I can't find the question. There was a question here about the shutdown sequence, and there we go. Mod Lack, or IAC. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. They're asking, was it just me, or did the shutdown look a little bit wrong? Would love the information. Alex, would you mind just bringing us through your thoughts on that shutdown sequence again?
Yeah, it seemed like, excuse me, I think what happened was that for this static fire, they ran the engines at full thrust, and then like 1 second before shutdown, they throttle down a second or two. I'm saying a second, not an exact time that I'm giving here. Sort of like a second or so before shutdown, they throttle down maybe to 50%, 60%. I have no idea, but it seems like they throttle down and then they shut down the engine. From my recollection, they do the same on the RS-25 when they shut down the engine. For example, you can see this when they fire them at Stennis. They bring the engine down to like 80% and then they shut down. So like they throttle down the engine on purpose before the shutdown, because apparently that's easier on the turbo machinery to do the shutdown when you shut down at 80% than say 100%. Might have to do with the fact that it's spinning at crazy speeds, and it probably is a lot easier to spin down from slightly slower speed on those pumps. That's my take. But it seems like that's what they did, where they shut down. Before shutdown, they sort of throttle down and then the shutdown. If it wasn't a throttle down, it at least seemed to be some sort of, if it wasn't a throttle down, it had to be some kind of shutdown of engines or something like that. Because you can see visibly on the camera views when we showed those replays that the flames sort of get shorter, right? And that's a very noticeable change in the plume that tells you, it's lower thrust, right? And so either throttle down or shutting down engines. At first I thought, oh, shutting down engines, it was a staggered thing. I'm more on the side of they were probably throttling down.
Jeff is asking or saying that they watched the very first Mercury launch and have been watching ever since. I'm in Oklahoma and have never seen a live launch. Where do I get information on the best places to see a Starship launch? I mean, we do have that video on how to see a launch from Florida. I think it's well overdue that we have a video on how to see a launch from Starship. Das did make a video like before Flight 1, like 3 years ago, over 3 years ago at this point, of how to, like, what to do when you're visiting Starbase. It's changed a lot since then. We definitely need an update on that video. But I mean, if you want to come down to South Texas, then of course we're obligatory. Big shout out to Rocket Ranch. I don't know if they still have spots for Flight 12, but they definitely did. So check out Rocket Ranch if they still have availability for Flight 12. That's basically as close as you can get while not working for SpaceX. There is, of course, there's Isla Blanca Park on South Padre Island. That's as close as you can get on the island to the north of Starbase, and they're usually open a little whiles before launch, so you can go park up and watch the launch from there. Or if you aren't that too fussed about actually seeing the point of ignition, then pretty much anywhere, anywhere in the local area, Port Isabel, Brownsville, you're going to see it once it clears the tower. It's quite a big rocket and it's quite hard to miss. So yeah, plenty of cool places to watch from. But of course, a shout out to Rocket Ranch, and we have our partnership with the Margaritaville Beach Resort, South Padre Island as well, if you need somewhere to stay. So plenty of cool places you can watch from. We have another question here. Let's hit this one from JS Web Productions. They were asking, did it appear to you that the water was running the whole time? Alex, I think it was, but the engine exhaust itself kind of vaporizes the water, making it impossible to see. It's kind of doing its job, so we can't see it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's sort of like the plate that we saw on Pad 1, right? When the engines ignite, the water turns into steam, right? Into vapor. And believe it or not, that is transparent. And so what you see is only just the fire coming out. But there's water there. Like it's just turning to gas, and water gas is transparent. Now, what you see white, when we talk about the clouds and everything, that's technically not the water vapor, like the water gas. It's actually a condensation of that gas. When it is far out, you can see, I don't know if we can maybe pull out some of the replays again so I can explain this properly, but what I'm trying to mean is that very close to the trench, when you have that thrust and that power very close to the water is completely clear because it's just gas. But as it travels away, it cools down and is able to condensate into those clouds that we see, right? And we see, oh, that's clouds of vapors. See there? Like right next to the trench is just the flames coming out, but as you go away from the trench, you start seeing more cloud, and then it's all, the white clouds of steam. And then there you can see the water deluge, and you see water coming back, and it's like, oh my gosh, the deluge was not on during the fire. And it's like, no. It's because now that is not turning into gas, right? And so now you can see the water, the liquid, right? That's the thing. That's basically what's happening there. Thank you, Jay, by the way, for pulling this up as I was explaining it.
We have Kaus King. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but they're asking how long until the road opens. Ryan, I think there's also another kind of elephant in the room with that question, and that's the fact that Ship 39 could be rolling out, which would be blocking the road anyways.
Yeah, so based off when the static fire was, it usually takes about an hour and a half to fully detank and safe the vehicle, to an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I would not expect the road to fully open at least probably till like 11:30 or so. And then, of course, at that point, there's the road delay for 39 starts at 12. I don't know the status of 39. I don't know if it's on the stand yet. I don't know if the stand is in Mega Bay 2. Trying to figure out exactly where we are status-wise with that one. But there is a closure from noon to 4 p.m. for Ship 39 to roll out, which would likely mean a night stack, which SpaceX just wait till the morning. Just wait till the morning. You know, between everyone, wait till morning. I want to see the ships stacked in light. So, yeah.
They have big torches though that they can shine on the. They have big lights. They have big, send out the bat signal through the grid fins. No? Okay. Just me. Jesse Root is asking, did we see any indications of them swapping engines after the last aborted static fire and fast shutdown? Ryan, I'll toss this one over to you as well. SpaceX, in their awesome video, did confirm that both previous static fires were cut off early. They definitely said that the first one had that kind of fast shutdown, which did some mechanical damage. But do we know what happened with the second one, if they had to replace any engines?
We don't know if they swapped any engines after the last static fire. It's definitely possible they did. But as of right now, it's not confirmed or anything by SpaceX. To me, this static fire is more about the fact that they wanted to make sure the Deluge worked fine, and by all accounts, it definitely worked. They got their full duration. It looks like it worked nicely. So let's hope that's a good sign for them getting ready for launch.
Indeed. Again, we will be live until the road opens, or until the ship rolls out, or until whatever happens. We don't really know what's happening, but whatever happens, we'll be live for it. So do stay tuned. We're gonna be live for a little while yet, and do keep your questions and comments coming. Tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will do our best at answering as many as we physically can. Dun Coding is asking when patch. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say, but soon. Soon, I promise. Soon. Fractal Paradox is asking, do we know if they swapped many engines due to the last abort, or are they mostly the same engines? That's basically the same question as last time, but I mean, we did see some engines moving around at McGregor from the one, not the last abort, but the one before that. So, do you think there's a chance any of them returned maybe to Starbase, Ryan?
I don't know. It's possible. They may reuse those on another flight. So, yeah. Until we actually see the serial numbers, we don't really know, because they lifted it at night with no spotlights on it when they put the booster on the pad, so we didn't see anything. So hopefully they destack it during the day, or they put it back when they put it back on the mount for launch. It'll be during the day, maybe with a spotlight on it, so we can actually see the engine numbers. So hope.
Gnome Leo, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Juanuel, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but they are asking, what is the purpose of the black paint on the aft section? Is it for aesthetic reasons, or does it have any other purposes? We can't really see it from this angle, Alex, but does it have like an actual purpose for, protecting the booster, or is it just to make it look pretty?
It might provide a little bit of protection. At least I am not fully sure it does much, but it wouldn't be the first time that they apply certain paints or things on vehicles just for aesthetics. I see the tape. It's flapping off. That probably came out from the static fire. Now you can notice much better which parts of the shines are taped and which ones have the plate over. But I will add to this that it's not the first time, because if you look at Falcon Heavy, the reason why it's got its white interstage is because they paint that. They don't paint the ones for Falcon 9, and it's all about aesthetics. It's not really like anything related to, protection or anything like that. They just like not having a black interstage on a Falcon Heavy. I don't know why. Kind of want to see one, but we'll see.
I think it would look a little weird to have the black interstage and not have black nose cones though on the boosters.
I don't know. black and white. That's sort of their thing on Falcon 9. Maybe it could work. They have not tried it yet. They're not. They're not. Uh, they're not brave enough. Let's put it that way. to try it. Just one launch of Falcon Heavy with a black interstage. I will take that.
We have Anon Wymus. Thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. And Gina G has a great question on the booster stand, which has been kind of just abandoned in the middle of Highway 4. They're asking, what will happen to this stand? Which direction will it go, especially with the ship coming out now? Ryan, judging by what you said earlier, I'd assume it's going back to the launch site.
Yeah, it'll come back to the launch site. It'll be parked off to the side, and Booster 19 will await Ship 39 and to do hopefully a wet dress rehearsal. I kind of doubt it'd be tomorrow. If they stacked late at night, I don't know if they'd be ready to do it tomorrow because they've never hooked a vehicle up to any of the shipside systems here. Or if they do a wet dress, it wouldn't be till much later in the day. And if not, then it's possible we see another beach closure come out for Saturday or something like that. Or if they don't want to use any more weekend closures, and probably would push the launch a little bit, they would do the wet dress on Monday. So we'll have to wait and see what SpaceX does here.
FWD79 is asking, how can we sure the test is done for today? Are there any visible clues at the site that we can see? Also, will there be a static fire after the ship is stacked on top? Alex, I highly doubt the latter part of that question there. But what are some of the things that we look out for when we can see things are winding down?
Well, one of the things is, of course, what we're seeing here with the detanking, right? It is true that in any other day we could say, well, maybe they're going to be testing it again because they can have always the possibility to test it again. But there's that ship transport, right? That transport from the production site to the pad, which we of course think it's going to be ship 39. What else is going to be, right? They somehow roll up booster 20. Out to the pad. No, I'm joking, but like, yeah, it's gonna be probably ship 39, and so they're probably gonna be doing a full stack hopefully later today. Yeah, it's not looking like they may test again, but we're still covering this because again, it's still detanking. The road is still closed. You never know, right? And also if they're gonna be rolling out the ship, why wouldn't be keeping live, right? Like, yeah. Also, hang on. There are two other questions. Also, will there be a static fire after ship is stacked on top? Well, I don't think that they may need any more static fires. They already had the long static fire today, right? Anything else that comes to mind, Ryan, that they may need?
Not to me. I would say stack the ship, wet dress. My guess is both roll back. Final checks. Put the payload in 39. I kind of doubt it has it right now. At least we haven't seen any evidence of that. Then roll them both back out, stack them, launch. Don't know how long that would take to do. Their windows, they have a date. They have a date for the 15th, and then it's the 19th, 20th, and I think 21st. I don't know why they don't have a date for the 18th. But from the last time I checked, it's only for next Friday, and then in the middle of the week, 2 weeks from now. So that's kind of what we're looking at for possible dates. But I personally would not be shocked if it goes after Memorial Day, but that's me. So.
And for the international viewers joining us, Ryan, when is Memorial Day?
Oh, right. It'd be after May 25th. So they wouldn't be able to go on May 25th because it's a holiday and they can't close the beach during that because the beach is it's a Texas beach and they don't own it. So they would have to be the 26th or later after that point if they don't make it the week before.
We have Geohound who is asking, can they just fill the ship to test the ship quick disconnect side? I don't actually know if they are comfortable putting propellant on a ship when it's stacked on top of a booster. Maybe that's just me getting kind of PTSD from that Atlas Agena, which folded in half on the launch pad in the 60s, but what do you think, Alex?
They don't need to load the booster for that. They will just need to pressurize the tanks, and that's it. The thing that holds the ship on top, when it is not loaded, it's just the own structure of the booster can take that. And then when it is loaded, the booster, like being filled with a liquid, doesn't really give you the structural integrity. It's the pressure of the tanks, right? And how do you get the pressure? With a gas. Like you don't need to fully to load any liquid inside the booster in order to be able to get that pressure. In fact, if you think about it, it doesn't even make sense because the liquid never goes all the way to the top of any of the tanks. Like you can think of, well, maybe it's sort of like, you fill it up to the brim, and that's sort of what gives it its structural integrity or something like that's not really how it works. It's just the pressure in the tanks, and you can just pressurize the tank and then start the load of propellant. In fact, for the previous version, they used to load the ship first, remember? And the ship will get frosty even before the booster. It's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. We have a question from Ghost Raptor who's asking, what is the estimated lifespan of the flame trench, or how long will the flame trench last with how powerful the engines are? I'm not sure if we have a definitive answer to that, Ryan, but I'd say it's certainly expected to be much longer than the upside down showerhead nonsense they were doing at Pad 1.
Yeah. The trench should last a lot longer. Same thing with the top deck. When they originally put that plate in, I think they thought they would get 20 launches out of it, or maybe 40. But if you actually were to like look at that plate, some of the up close pictures and even some of the aerial photos of that thing, it was ablating a lot of material over a course of time. It only got through 10 launches. I honestly don't think it would have survived another 5. And that's just me. I think it would have cracked and shattered or something along those lines after like another couple of launches. So they basically had already reached the lifespan of that. They have much more pressure and much more water. It's a much better design overall with what they have here. These should last far, far longer than those should. I don't know what what SpaceX thinks their lifetime is on these, but I would hope it's somewhere in like the 100 to 200 launch range or more, or maybe a couple hundred launches, because like you could replace one of the buckets. You definitely could, but it's not like it would be easy. And there's definitely ways to put patches in certain places. Replacing the ridge cap wouldn't be difficult. The problem is getting access to a lot of the locations to cut a lot of it, because it's all welded together, so you'd have to cut it apart. It would definitely take the pad offline for a while, but then there really is no way to replace the top deck. If the top deck gets bad, that's it for the top deck.
Yeah. One of the benefits is that at least, if they needed a new flame bucket, for example, they can always pre-assemble that of, like, they wouldn't need to shut down the launch pad, right? Like, they only after. So what I'm trying to point out here is that they will only need to shut down the pad once they are ready to put the flame bucket. While they are preparing it, they can still launch as long as the flame bucket, the old one, it's still good to go.
Still good.
Yeah. But like it wouldn't shut down the launch pad right away, which is one of the benefits of the way that they've built this launch pad, which is, they can do things outside, off-site, so to speak, right? And then roll it out and install it. Mostly complete. You will need to do all of the, as you said, they need to weld things down and things like that. But, it cuts down in terms of the amount of work that you need to do. Instead of building the flame bucket on site right there, it will take probably double the time.
Let's see here. Titan is asking, do you think they will go for a catch right away with the new booster, or do you think SpaceX will ditch it in the Gulf? Alex, I think a ditch in the Gulf is probably what is expected.
Yeah, I don't see this being caught or anything. They're probably going to be testing the booster, doing a catch simulation, so to speak, out there in the Gulf, and then see what happens, right? We'll see if it gets that far, to be honest. Let's go through some of the flights. Flight 1, yeah, booster did not do well. Flight 2, booster did a full ascent burn, but it failed during the boost back burn. Flight 3, booster did a boost back burn, cut short that boost back burn. It already started failing near the end, and then the entry and the landing burns. So there's not an entry burn, but I meant like the entry of the booster did not go super well, and then the landing burn, it only did like 2 engines. Yeah, it was fairly bad already at the time. But by the 4th flight, they were already successful on doing a splashdown. Will it take 4 flights for version 3? I hope not. But maybe 2, let's put it that way. I want to believe that Booster 19 can do the full profile right on, from the get-go, right? But we'll see.
Yeah, the last time that SpaceX flew a brand new booster, didn't exactly go according to plan. The last time that SpaceX flew a brand new ship, didn't exactly go according to plan. So, you know, while hopes are high, expectations might not be as high, simply because of what recent history has shown us. But to be fair to SpaceX, they've been doing a lot more pre-launch testing on the vehicles themselves and the numerous test tanks they have than they have for quite some time, if ever before. So that does make me a bit more confident. But again, if actual history of flight tests over the past 3 years have taught us anything, the first flight might not be most representative on the actual capabilities of the vehicle. Mike is asking, do they need to do a water deluge test of the top plate due to what happened the other day? In case you were not aware, the other day there was a bit of an incident at the tank farm. One of the gas generators exploded when testing the water deluge system. Ryan, what do you think? Do you think another test is in order of that top deck specifically?
I would assume they do a top deck test. I don't. We've seen them do it once with a booster on the pad. I don't think they would do that again. I would assume they would do a wet dress rehearsal. Maybe activate the deluge during that. Maybe not. And if not, then once the booster and ship are off, have left the launch site again, they do a full test to make sure the top deck is good as well as the other one. Just do one last full test, and if everything checks out, then that'll be good for that.
Let's see here. We have Metal Mani asking, do you think starships will be named like Dragon capsules, or will they keep serial numbers? I think the important ships maybe, Alex. Maybe not all of them, because that might get a bit much when they have, hundreds of ships. But maybe like the first one to carry crew, or maybe the initial Artemis landers, perhaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Artemis landers do get named by the crew, especially because we saw that with Apollo, right? The LAM would get a name, and then the CSM will also get a name. That was tradition at the time. I can see that similarly for Artemis. Going forward, I can also think that independent SpaceX missions on their own might also get a name on their starships, just like we've seen for Dragon, yeah, for crew missions, but. Every single Starship, I don't think. Just like Cargo Dragon capsules, they don't get a name or anything like that. They just get their serial numbers, and that's it.
I will be honest, I'm slightly surprised to see that kind of tent framing still vertical after the static fire.
Well, it's actually pretty far from the trench exit. That tent is like, I don't know, like 400 meters from the exit.
This is a very zoomed in view, so it's kind of
Yes.
the view is compressed.
Yeah, so it's hard to get a perspective, but basically all that equipment is in that new trapezoid of the land expansion, and that's a couple hundred meters away from the trench exit. It looks like it's closer, but that's just because of how gigantic the pad and the booster are. Like for reference, like you see the little door on the side of the BQD. That's the size of a person, is what that would be, or a little bit bigger than the size of a person. The whole thing is huge.
We maybe not right now, but we do need some humans for scale. Especially, there's a really cool shot with the Gigabay when it's being built, the Starbase Gigabay. I've used it in a couple Starship updates, but if you film the Gigabay like side on at like sunrise or sunset, so the sun is shining through and the bay is like silhouetted, you can see the ants, and they're not ants, they're people, but it looks like ants walking back and forth on each of the Gigabay floors, and it's really cool because you can see that like human for scale, it's like teeny tiny human, huge Gigabay, where they're going to be building starships and boosters for forever, hopefully. But yeah, it's a big rocket, and it's shiny on one side. Welcome to my technical update.
It's shiny on one side and it's very big. Also,
did you know?
SM-15 is in the rocket garden.
The Starship's big. Do you know that, Ryan? Like, it's big.
Really big.
Yeah.
Ron Smith is asking, what is going on with the new land SpaceX is expanding into, especially with 2 pads built already? I assume they mean the expansion at the launch site. Alex, I think it's mainly a build-up of big event.
Oh, depress.
Depress a booster. The final part of the safing is when the locks and methane drains open up again to drain out what's left. But yeah, that is at least methane tank depress right there. I don't see the vents off. I think the vents off the LOX tank are going, so it's full depress. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go, off the liquid oxygen tank. We'll get the booster sort itself out, and then we can continue. I was very rudely interrupted by Booster 19.
Cowbell vents. Needs more cowbell.
Needs more cowbell.
As you can see, some cameras might have been a little obscured with the remnants of the plume. Might need a bit of a wipe. But you can see there the venting from the top of the methane tank, which is on the left-hand side, and the top of the oxygen tank, which is on the right-hand side. Make sure that all of that gas is no longer inside the tank. Maybe that's wrapped up? Hopefully? Let's continue. Never mind.
You just said
in your own
nope.
time, Booster 19. Is that it?
You done?
You done? You done?
Well, okay.
Ron Smith is asking, what is going on? Are you kidding me?
like, you know what? No, you're not going to talk. Wait for it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything because they're just going to... I mean, they're still venting the methane, technically. Yep, there we go.
As soon as you talked. Ranking is now like, no, I don't want to.
Any more, Booster? Any more?
Any more?
Ron Smith is asking, what is going on with the new land that SpaceX is expanding in? I'm going to ignore it. I'm just going to ignore it. That SpaceX is expanding into, especially with 2 pads built already. Alex, I'm pretty sure they're just going to be filling it up with ground support equipment. Talking about the launch site expansion here, they're basically kind of doubling the surface area of the launch site.
Yeah, it's part of their intentions of, not just using this for a few flights, but for the long run, right? We've been talking about this on our Starship update videos where it was like, they're clearing out and this is sort of the things that they have in the plans. There was a document last year, I think it was in August, where they already showed some of the plans, like, a dedicated Deluge tank farm for Pad 1, because Pad 1 is being updated to the Pad 2 standards somewhat. And the Deluge tank farm for Pad 2 is way bigger, like the footprint. It's way bigger because it's got more things going on there than the older one. And so you need more space for that, more room to be able to store all of those systems. And so part of that expansion will host that. They have also part of their tank farm, like the regular tank farm systems, excuse me, might move there as well. It's a weird thing on that, and also part of it might even entail having an LNG purification system so that they can bring in natural gas and then purify it and get methane out of that. So while they'll have the air separation unit for the liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen needs for their launch campaigns, for the methane side of things, instead of trucking it in, they'll be able to just purify the methane out of the natural gas, excuse me. Yeah. So that's basically what we think it's going to happen based on those documents that have gone out.
Fade, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Mr. Fluffy, aren't we owed a giraffe drawing? Well, I don't have access to the telestration system right now, so it's not up to me. Just saying.
I don't either. So yeah.
There you go.
Jay,
There you
Jay, fix this.
Jonathan, this is for Alex saying B19 needs more cowbell. Thank you for your work, guys. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for your support. I mean, we can make this an educational moment, Alex, because those cowbell vents are different from the previous design that they used on the version 1/2 version booster, which they renamed and definitely was just still a version 1 booster.
Yeah, a little bit more roundish, I guess. The previous version had them sort of more square-ish. Difference between corners and just rounded corners, I guess, regular corners or rounded corners. That's basically the major difference. There's still cowell vents. There's still for attitude control when the booster is in coast phase, right after booster separation and the boost back burn ends. They probably use those for settling because they are putting right down, right? And so that is very well suited for that sort of purpose where you get some thrust out of those in the forward direction so that you can settle the propellants. And that is good because you need the propellants to be settled at all times, especially because they also dump a little bit of the liquid oxygen. We see that as well. They do some dumps of propellant of the main tanks because they have the landing tank for a reason. Why would you need any remaining propellant on the main tanks if you already have especially for the liquid oxygen side of things, why would you need it on the main tanks if you're just going to use the landing tank? It doesn't make sense, right? So whatever remaining liquid oxygen that is there, you're not going to use it, dump it. And it's oxygen, it's in the air anyways, right? So they do that and they dump it, and that allows them to be able to have a lighter booster for the landing burn, which is good because you want the booster to be as light as possible so that it can be slowed down by the atmosphere as much as possible.
Like
Ooh, Cybertruck.
SpaceX returning to the pad. Is this... I'm trying to look at our... I don't know if we have a camera on the roadblock. Is this road fully open, or is this just SpaceX people returning to the pad?
Looks like the sheriff's leaving now, too. I think. Yep.
But there you go. SpaceX vehicles confirmed. Headed to Booster 19. Never mind. I forgot they have a transport stand in the way. Vehicles returning to the transport stand. There we go. So first up is to deliver the transport stand driver to the transport stand, which I think has just happened. And then they can drive the transport stand down the road and open the road fully. And there you go. You can see the police on the right-hand side there. But of course, Ryan, even if they close, or rather open the road up right now, theoretically, we could be just 57 minutes away from Ship 39 making an appearance.
Yeah, we're waiting to see when it's going to roll out of the bay. I don't know if it's on the transport stand yet at this rate. It's really hard to tell. There's so much haze around our long-range camera. It's hard to look at the production site today, especially. So we usually have some cams that have some good views of Mega Bay 2, but you know, there was already a bunch of haze, and then Booster 19 decided to make that worse. So thanks, Booster. Although the static fire was cool, but thanks. And we'll just have to wait and see when 39 or Mega Bay 2's door opens up and we see 39 for a possible rollout here. Just casually chucking a cone on top of the SPMT there. But the road delay is from noon to 4 p.m. So they have a 4-hour window. It takes about an hour to roll a vehicle to the launch site. So it could roll at any point over that 4-hour period.
And Ryan, look at the Boca Chica beach closures for tomorrow.
Oh. Yeah, so that's
they deleted the one for today, and then they turned the one for tomorrow into a primary one. So they are intending to test something tomorrow, while also they're intending to roll out something from the production to the pad, Ship 39, basically, and then have testing tomorrow. What could that be, right?
I wonder what could be happening tomorrow with a booster and a ship at the pad at the same time.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, there's also like a ton of cryo tankers ready to offload on the farm. So, I mean, they might be getting ready to put a bunch of propellant into one or possibly two vehicles that could possibly or may not be stacked on one another. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, let's talk about the timeline for that. Let's assume, okay, full send, to quote Reed Wiseman, commander of Artemis 2, full send, let's roll the ship out over the next 5 hours or so, stack this evening. I mean, maybe you two are going to disagree with me, but this seems like a very plausible road to a full wet dress rehearsal tomorrow.
Yeah, if they get the thing stacked tonight, do checkouts. I don't know if they would start right away in the morning. This might be one of those times where they start like middle of the day or something along those lines, and it gets pushed into the afternoon. Because, and I think that would depend on when it would stack. So we'll have to watch and wait for that, and see when they actually close the road and when we think they'll actually do one. Because remember, this is the first time they're stacking a vehicle with this pad, with these first time they're stacking a ship with these sticks. It's the first time they're going to use the lift points, catch points, to stack a ship. They've used sockets all the way up to flight 11. And a little fun tidbit: they have not had a ship out at the launch site in 206 days since flight 11. So this will be the first time a ship is out at the launch pad for almost 7 months. First time we'll have it stacked on a vehicle in almost 7 months. And possibly tomorrow will be the first time we have a fully frosted stack for the first time in almost 7 months. So a lot of new stuff, and of course it'd be the first on pad 2 as well. I could see them being ready for a wet dress tomorrow, but I would not be surprised if that wet dress got pushed until later in the day. So
either way, I think if we can get a fully stacked vehicle before the end of today, which is kind of bonkers to say out loud, I mean, they have some days where they can do testing. I mean, I we're really getting to the pointy end of the countdown here now. I mean, Flight 12 could literally be next week. When is the 15th? That is next week. Yeah, it is next week. It's literally next Friday. Oh my goodness, that is yeah. Suddenly that is starting to feel real, and the transport stand is rolling. Booster transport stand returning to pad 2. As they work to reopen the road. But yeah, we could see a Starship launch in 8 days. That is, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I'm not sure if I'm ready. Well, I'll say a launch attempt. Let's set expectations. A launch attempt minimum. Fingers crossed a launch. Yeah, oh my goodness. Jerry, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. That is very much greatly appreciated. And we do have one more replay for you with audio from our very own Gage, who was out in the field capturing the static fire, and dare I say, just like all of us, it might have caught him a little bit off guard.
Not like you can see anything anyway. It's hazy as fuck. And right now it's sitting at CP11, which is much more useful. Oh wait, it's going!
Watching on from the rocket ranch
Same,
outpost.
Gage. Same.
Gage.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it caught us off guard, but I mean, with that fog, they obviously couldn't see the weird vent going off for the Deluge system. So, yeah, that's quite a traffic jam. I don't want to be one to backseat produce,
Wait,
but can we look at this traffic jam?
How many trucks? Hang on. One,
At least
2,
8
3,
tankers.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my goodness.
This is like the M25 on a
Okay.
Monday morning. What's going on?
9.
So 9 tankers.
Is that the
Shuttle
shuttle
tanker.
Shuttle
Shuttle tanker
tanker.
represent.
Okay, 9. Let's see. Tesla truck.
You know, we panning all the way over here.
Well, that's gonna be interesting for our crew out there to roll down, to go down the road and look at things. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
there's
that
another one.
That's 10.
Dare I say, Ship 39 might have to have a little bit of a path cleared for it.
You know, they might be getting ready to load a lot of propellant tomorrow. I don't know.
You think?
Come on, mate, close up the gap. What are you doing? There's 5 car lengths in there. What are you waiting for?
Okay, is this the end?
Nope.
Nope.
What is
What's
that?
Is that for the air separation unit?
that might be an ASU part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be
All
an
right.
ASU part. Yeah.
That's
I think
very
that I
peculiar.
think that's
Yeah, those
going
looks like
next
pipes.
to the compressor building is where I think that's going to go to.
Well, out of a fear of this stream turning into Traffic Jam Live 24/7, I think we should probably call it a morning here. What a beautiful static fire from Booster 19. Ryan, thank you so much for being here for the whole morning, and plenty more stuff to come later today.
Yeah, I'll. It's a pleasure as always. I will probably be around when Ship 39 rolls. I don't know yet at this rate, and maybe even when it stacks. I hope they don't take too long to stack, but
They somehow
either way,
remove the booster and put the ship on the OLM. That would be
that
funny.
they
They
don't
will
have an
never put
adapter.
a ship on the launch.
They don't
mount.
have an
Never.
adapter ready to do that this time around, so they can't do that right now. But
Oh,
anyways,
goodness.
I will probably talk to you all. I don't know, maybe in an hour or two. We'll see. But yeah, this was awesome, and I can't wait for everything else that's coming up for SpaceX and Starship.
Alex, thank you for joining us this morning as well.
Yeah, you said we're calling it a morning. Of course, we're not calling it a day. We're always live on Starbase Live, but with commentary, we'll also be coming back for Ship 39's roll. Maybe in an hour or two. We don't know, right? It's a 4-hour window, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So who knows? But we'll be back also for stacking, hopefully.
Yeah, indeed. I will do. I'm not saying this because I want you to subscribe. I'm literally saying this because I don't want you to miss out. Make sure you have the notifications enabled and that you are following us on the socials as well, so you are notified when that rollout happens. We're going to take an hour break or so. Depends how long it takes them to roll out this ship, but make sure you are following us because you will be notified when we go live for that rollout later today. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. As Ryan said, the first time that the ship is returning to the pad in over 200 days. It's been a long time waiting for this flight. Thank you to Chris B earlier on being on the stream. Thank you to Jay Keegan producing the stream, pressing all the buttons. Thank you to Gage, who has been setting up all of the beautiful close-up cameras and getting that all ready. Thank you to Caesar for being out in the field as well, as always. And of course, thank you to you for watching this morning's, you have to be careful, this morning's stream. Colleen has been out there as well, of course. I can't forget Colleen. I've been Ryan Case in for NSF. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back later on.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.